Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to celebrate the passing of James Bond.
Oh,
Gone but not forgotten. Here's to you, sir. I got myself a vodka martini because what else? Damn, that's actually really good.
hey.
Welcome everyone to Drinkers Open Bar number 3, and I'm joined this evening by the long man himself, MauLer. How are you doing, sir?
Wonderful. Every night I spend with you is always a fun little adventure, so, I'm just fully excited. I should have something to drink, though. You've just reminded me.
Well, if you want to go off and get something, that's perfectly fine by me.
I will remedy it without even leaving my seat.
Yeah. I like how you've just got booze on standby. That's a man after my own heart.
Hey, we're talking about James Bond. I should... I just need a gun and, I'm all set.
Yeah, good to go. Yeah. So I mean, we've both seen No Time to Die, and I'm sure we've both formed our own thoughts on it. I've not really. I guess the people of chat have not had a chance to hear yours, man. So, what did you think of the movie?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I don't think I think you mentioned it on EFAB or not. But so this is the problem. I'm someone who didn't really click with Daniel Craig ever. I think Casino Royale's good. And I'm pretty sure I like that one. I think Quantum of Solace absolutely killed it, though. And even at that point, I was still kind of looking at him as just not quite Bond. He's this other... really felt like someone else's take on Bond, while the others felt like they slotted together much better. And that's fine. You can do that if you want to. But it meant that Skyfall, I remember watching that and being like, well, that was nice, I guess. And... there's this weird thing of like, I look at every Bond in the Craig era as I'm trying to review it or think about it always in a meta sense, and with the idea that Craig doesn't like playing it on my mind. Whereas the other Bonds, I look at them as Bond films. Like, I don't have this problem with it. So I was just like, I'm not even sure what happened. But then I didn't even watch Spectre. I just had everyone telling me it was shit. So I was like, I guess I'll avoid it. I actually recently watched that, so I have full context now. That film's got fucking problems, man.
What a way to waste Blofeld. Like, one of the greatest Bond villains in history. Like,
not just
fucking hell.
Agreed, and not just Blofeld, but fucking Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you using him for that? Like, he's just an idiot in that film. A lot of people are idiots in that film, to be fair, though. And
I'll tell you... Sorry, I'll let you finish.
I'm just going to say Dave Bautista, I was a little bit underwhelmed by how he's like set up throughout the film to be this muscle man, and then Bond like has a small fight with him, and then he gets like tossed out of a train and we never see him again. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's
okay.
That
was fun, I guess. He barely spoke. Do you remember his scene where he rips someone's eyes out with his nail metal things? I was like, what is this gimmick?
Yeah. This is like Jaws, but with your hands, I suppose.
I'm nail Jaws. I was like, okay. That was strange.
There's... I'll tell you what really pisses me off about the Daniel Craig movies is that it's like it tries to form its own like self-contained pocket universe, that it's separate from all the rest of the Bond movies. And it's like none of them ever existed. It starts off and he's just been given his 00 license, and it's like the origin story for him in Casino Royale. Then like one movie later, he's like old and retired and he doesn't want to do it anymore. Then he's brought back in.
Yeah.
Then he retires again, and he just...
I'm getting really confused on that.
Yeah, his entire tenure has just been a miserable old asshole who doesn't want to be Bond. And that's pretty much Daniel Craig in a nutshell. But yeah, the other Bond movies, they had just a very loose continuity between movies. It was almost non-existent. Every movie was kind of its own self-contained adventure, and there was like little in-jokes of past adventures, but that was all you needed. But you were very much led to believe that it was still the same guy going through all the different decades. It was just, you weren't supposed to think too much about it. Now it's like, this is an entirely different thing. It's like a fully complete story in its own right, and it's over now. And what the fuck? Like,
exactly.
What have you done? What have you done to this character? What have you done to this franchise?
Well, because obviously, we were almost at modern times with Skyfall. I don't know what to say about Skyfall other than because I just missed the conversation on that back in, what was that, 2015? The Spectre, sorry, not Skyfall. Fuck my Bond brain is all over the place. Because when he showed up in No Time to Die, I hadn't seen him before, and I was just like, okay. And I don't know about you, but I was just getting vibes of like, I'm not understanding the intensity here. And then I was like, oh, it's probably because I haven't seen Spectre. So
it would probably help if you'd watched that, yeah.
So I watched Spectre, and it made even less sense because he's not intimidating at all.
No, it's like Christoph Waltz has definitely got a niche as an actor, but like Blofeld is not it. Hey Gary, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up? Nice talk. Yeah.
Thank you. I stole it off a corpse myself.
Oh my god.
James Bond's corpse.
Yeah. The corpse of the entire franchise. Yeah, man. I know you've seen it as well. Like we were just sitting here trying to make sense of how the fuck this entire Daniel Craig run.
The Craig era.
Yeah.
It's amazing how I saw it too. At the middle of the night, I flew over to the UK and was able to see it and then fly back.
My god.
I believe
really
you.
Took this to the extreme, didn't you? I can't believe you put all that effort in.
The sacrifices he makes.
Travel restrictions aside, I was able to do it,
Yeah, it's like how I was able to fly over to the States to watch Wonder Woman 1984 and then just straight back to the UK before anyone noticed.
Amazing.
I don't know how you guys do it, but yeah, I believe you.
We were just kind of talking about how, Craig never really felt like Bond to either of us, and I guess we just never understood what they were really going for with his run as the character. Like, it felt like they just tried to press the reset button on everything. Everyone was reintroduced. Like, Felix was introduced again. M was reintroduced, even though it was started off as Judi Dench, which was even more fucking weird. Blofeld was reintroduced. Moneypenny was reintroduced. Bond is given his 00 license and he gets his origin story and everything. And then now he's dead. And that's how it's meant to work.
And it breaks the whole thing, really. I kind of see the Daniel Craig era as a soap opera. It's the Bond I never wanted to see.
Dude, fucking melodrama.
It's the Bond that Daniel Craig never wanted to make.
Yeah. Casino Royale was spectacular. And, I was down with the Bond Begins thing. That's what it was. And it was odd having, Dame Judi Dench in there as M again. But it was also it was always a continuity that we just played with in our headcanon that just we dealt with it. We realized it was an old franchise and all the stuff that Bond did still happened. But this does away with that. And now the Daniel Craig era is just an alternate universe or something.
I guess.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know what they're going to do with this. Like, is it? Are they going to have Kang the Conqueror decide that it wasn't supposed to happen?
Probably.
And
we can only hope.
This guy summed it up perfectly. Craig's Bond just was never about fun.
Yes.
Exactly.
And as much as people slate the kind of classic Bond era, like especially the Moore era for being very campy and silly, like every one of the previous Bonds, minus Dalton maybe, like had a bit of fun with it. There was a little bit tongue in cheek. There was a bit of humor with all the gadgets and the women and everything, and it was just always lacking in Craig's case. And it just kind of felt like he was trying to be Jason Bourne. Like other people have said this in chat.
Yeah.
It was trying to be the Bourne movies, but with like a tuxedo on.
Yeah, we have to update Bond for the modern era, and Casino Royale was that to a degree, in a successful way, I guess I would say. But I don't know. I don't even know they knew what they were doing with the next four. Like they're just sort of headless chickens in terms of like, is this story about what? I don't even know, because if you remember, Skyfall is just this weird movie that pops in the middle of this 4-movie story.
Yeah, because Quantum of Solace was really focused on tying up loose ends from Casino Royale, and I didn't like that right off the bat. I feel like Bond should just move into each new adventure kind of as a blank page.
Yes, definitely what people want. I think anyway. Like it's weird to have like, who wants to see the sequel story to this story from James Bond? You'd be like, huh? Is it?
Yeah.
And it was an epilogue at that. That's the way. Yeah, Quantum or something of Boris, completely forgettable film.
Something of Boris. You got that shit in my head.
I've had that song in my head since we were that live stream. But it sums it up. It's not James Bond without Bond women, without gadgets, without some tongue, without the tongue firmly planted in cheek. I grew up in the Roger Moore era, so I was fine with it. I would rather watch Moonraker 20 times over watching No Time to Die again.
I hope I never watch that movie again.
No Time to Have Fun. That was summed up the best. There is just, I heard, I'm crafting my review, so I try to not watch anybody's review or read anything. I just see what's up on Twitter, and people have talked about like there being levity in this film, and yeah, they crack a couple of jokes, but it's grim. It's beautifully shot. Cary Joji Fukunaga is a talented director. Not sure he's the right guy for Bond, considering thinks his main character is a drapist, but the guy's good at what he does. True Detective season 1 was beautiful, and this was beautifully shot. It was just dull in parts, and it just felt like we were dispatching people. It was an elegant deconstruction of James Bond. That's the best way I can put it, but it's still a deconstruction. Remember in the beginning, they did a Last Jedi thing when Bond's walking in Italy. He's walking up to that church and they're burning all that stuff. He's all, "What are you burning?" "We're burning the past. Let it die."
It's the idea that he's still hung up on Vesper Lynn from like 15 fucking years ago. Like, who cares? Jesus, he knew her for like one day.
And just to sort of tie it off about the whole connecting these films and attempt. So Vesper, do you remember that? Because obviously it was so funny to watch Spectre after watching this, because I hadn't seen Spectre. Fucking the writing team, man, where Blofeld is like, "You've come across me before, James, many times. Le Chiffre, green, silver. That's right, it's all me." It's like, shut up. What do you mean?
I am the architect of your pain, James.
Oh, God. And then this movie is like, it's not over.
Oh, yeah. And that was all because Daddy liked James more than he liked Blofeld, by the way. It's always
literally the Austin Powers fucking plotline.
Yeah.
That's so humiliating, man. Like,
Wait. Oh, that's good. I never thought of that. Sorry, that just kind of clicked.
It's gone around the internet. Because I was looking at discussions on Spectre, and then I was just like, did anyone not get weirded the fuck out when they gave the backstory that was exactly the same as Austin Powers? Was like, we were brothers. Like, shut up. It's so cringy.
Because in the original, like, Blofeld was just a guy that Bond had to battle. Like, he had no connection with him whatsoever. And it's like, trying to tie them up in this weird family history. It's just straight out of a soap opera, man. It's so cheap.
Well, what's No Time to Die about? It's about let me try to wrap this up in a paragraph. It's Bond's girlfriend, who was his enemy's daughter, her father killed some other guy's family, so he wants to kill her mother, but then abducts her for some reason, and then takes James Bond's daughter. Like, what the hell? I mean, it's like the word. Well, telenovelas are better than this. But it was so.
I love at the finale of the film as well, where Rami Malek just he's got Bond's daughter hostage, and then he just goes, "Oh, you want to leave? Okay, fuck off then." What the fuck is going on?
Can we talk about the age difference between Madeline Swan and what was his name? Safin?
I think you're right, yeah.
Rami Malek. So Rami Malek is 40 and Léa Seydoux is 35. So she was a little girl in the opening scene.
I did not understand that.
He was a 10-year-old when he came after it.
Like, are they going to tell us like he's got some non-aging nanotech or something like that? And Rami Malek is like a young-looking 40. He looks like he's 20.
He does, yeah.
I guess the scarring on his face, we're assuming that was from when Mr. White killed his family.
Yeah, he tried to poison them, I think, so it fucked up his face. But like that could have been some kind of explanation for like why he looks younger.
Dude, imagine
than he is or something.
Being me watching this without having seen Spectre, where you're like, the opening is girl who Bond is dating's mum was killed by a guy who's angry at the dad because that dad was Mr. White who killed all of their family, and so now
much better.
I heard all of that. I was like, what the fuck is going on? This is the Bond movie, and in the first 5 minutes, I have no idea what's happening.
Well, I thought that was Bond's daughter in the beginning. That's what I thought was going on. I had no idea it was Madeline Swan. And when M said, "Get me 007," it felt like that was going to be the line that they talked about 2 years ago, where when Lasagna Lynch comes in, and it feels like they cut it out. Maybe not, but
I think they've
my eyes at that.
I think they've cut quite a bit out.
I would imagine
worked quite a bit that they were going to do before, because I honestly think she had a much bigger role before, and they were probably positioning her to take over as Bond, like after this movie, and they got such a backlash to that first trailer. They were like, "Oh fuck, no,
well,
we need to redo this."
And it's done damage to the point now where you watch the film and you're like, "Why were you here?" Like you're stapled into this movie in a really weird way. Like ultimately, she really doesn't matter that much.
Nah, she doesn't do fuck all. By the finale, she just leaves. She just takes Madeline with her, and then off she goes, and that's it.
Well,
like she's not important in any way.
If you remove it from the film, right, like the scene with Ana de Armas, that just doesn't change. And then the scene where she's taking the kid and the wife, girlfriend, whatever, to safety, is like they could have just gone on their own. They didn't need her to do that. So
yeah,
why is she in the film?
I honestly think, like I say, I think they've reworked what her role was going to be, and they were just like, "Oh fuck it, just minimize her as much as you can."
And they really did. You're right. Like they didn't really need her in this film. She was she was obnoxious at first, but it wasn't as bad as they made it out to be. And a lot of it wasn't as bad as they made it out to be, but it was there. What it is the James Bond for the Me Too Times Up era, like that early part where Madeline Swan is in the water, and you see Daniel Craig come off without a shirt on, and she doesn't even get up out of the water, and I'm like, they're not going to use a woman in a bikini in this movie.
It's like when they're making out and stuff, she's got some fucking baggy t-shirt on just to hide as much flesh as possible.
Yep.
But I did, honestly, the most satisfying moment in the movie was when they're walking through MI6 headquarters, and Lashana Lynch is like, "Does it bother you that I'm 007 now?" And he's like, "No, it's just a number, whatever." And then he gets invited into M's office, and it's just him, and she has to wait outside, and he just looks at her and goes, "Does it bother you?" And then just slams the fucking door in her face.
Yeah, I'll take those victories where we can get them. I don't know if you guys remember that part where, like, I think he says, like, be careful in relation to a mission, and she's like, "Ugh," and I was like, "Okay."
When he's oh no, it's bad when the Americans and MI6 aren't communicating over a Spectre gathering. Not good. And she goes, "Whatever."
Whatever.
I meant to say as well, welcome Chris Gore. It's great to have you on, man.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for having me. Didn't really expect. I didn't know. Sorry, I'm late. I didn't know we were starting now and what was going on. But I'm just catching up and glad you guys. It sounds like everybody saw Bond, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, I never know what's going on from 1 hour to the next anyway. So join the club, man. But it's great to be able to have you on. Like, I've seen a lot of the the interviews you've done with like Film Courage, talking about the state of modern movies.
Right.
I just thought, brilliant, I need to have this guy on. So I'm glad you were able to come.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, no, the Film Courage folks are really cool. I mean, it's mostly like a lot of what they do is like kind of inside baseball, filmmaking stuff. But they're good people. They're good people.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it.
They seem like it. They do a good job over there.
Yeah, you should be on there, Gary. They're down the street. They live right about 2 blocks from where Rob Burnett lives.
Oh wow,
which is crazy.
We're all in Southern California.
Yeah, for a little bit anyway. I don't know.
2 more months.
Oh, geez.
Hey, Gary, am I right in saying you're doing Timcast at some point?
Yeah. Next Friday, a week from tomorrow.
That's cool as fuck, man.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Tell him to get a new beanie. Tell him to get a fedora or something like that and change the beanie.
I'll bring him my bowler hat. He can wear it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, Gary, congrats for that. That is going to be so cool.
Thanks. They're flying me out and everything. It's like a first class operation, putting me up in a hotel, and I'm going to fly out Thursday, get there Friday, and I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll figure out something, I'm sure.
So have you been on a plane since Everything. Oh man,
I hate flying too. Like,
yeah.
Seriously hate flying. I was like, can I drive there? I seriously thought about driving. It's all the way across the country. It's 3,000 miles. And I seriously thought about I can do it in 3 days. But I'm flying.
I've driven to Utah. It's like 11 hours. It's not too bad. But I will say flying now is freaking miserable. I do recommend, and I only say this because it seems like every bartender I know in LA is using these now. It's a thing called Fake Mask. And it's Fake Mask USA. I'm getting nothing for this. FakeMaskUSA.com. They sell these masks that you can breathe perfectly in. It's just as worthless and useless as a regular mask. But you can actually, no, seriously, you can actually breathe and you can vape.
This stream has just been demonetized.
Oh, shit, really? Should I not have said? Oh God, I don't know.
No, you're fine. Honestly, man. Okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I mean, I just say because I have friends who are bartenders and they're like, we can't speak in a loud bar. People can't hear us, right? Like with the regular mask. So if you can grab those, I highly recommend it. I have them myself. I worn them in certain situations. So
what's the deal in the States? Like if you're going into a bar or something like that, do you have to wear a mask in there?
Depends on where you live.
Yeah, like if you're in a blue state, basically, do you have to wear a mask in a bar?
Yeah, pretty much.
How does the beer get through it?
A city in a blue state. A lot of blue states in the counties, it's fine. Like Wisconsin, it's really chill. But no, you have to like take your mask, and if you're drinking, you cannot wear your mask as long as you're actively drinking. But if you stop for a certain amount of time, they can come up and bust you. Unless you're the mayor of San Francisco, then it's okay. You don't have to wear
Damn.
It's unbelievable the hypocrisy and just how BS this all is. It's just sickening to me, especially when you see I guess if you're doing an award show now, the help must be masked and muzzled, but everyone else, the celebrities, can just go off and do whatever.
Yeah.
But I know of some bars in LA that I don't want to name them necessarily. If you message me, I'll tell you where they are, that don't care if you're wearing a mask. They actively will say, we're not going to check for vax cards or any of that stuff. And those are the ones that I think are going to survive. But as far as I'm concerned, the city is dead. This new thing that LA put out, and I have friends of mine that have lived here for decades that are like, I'm gone. This is it. Like the city I love is just dead. So I don't know. And I just went to this meetup last week with Zuby. I don't know if you know who Zuby is.
He's awesome, man.
Yeah, he's great. So he did this little private meetup, no masks. Everyone was there. We're all at a great time. He made it a point to have a moment with everybody. I met this guy, Phil, there, who's a fan of yours, Gary. He walked right up to me and goes, I watched you on FNT. Like, you know Gary from Nerdrotic?
Oh, that's so weird.
No, it was great. It was great. It was so cool. This kid, Philip, and he was just talking about, he's an editor who works in the industry, and he's like, how do you navigate that you have different opinions than people that most of the people who you work with, right? So it was weird. And now that group is now meeting up at one of the bars that I mentioned, that's in Pasadena, actually, that the owner is vehemently against all this stuff. So there's people pushing back, but frankly, it's not enough, in my opinion. It's not enough. When I went to see Bond, it was just it felt sick to my stomach, walking through, and you've got to have the mask on, and just it felt like I don't know.
Are they mandating vax passports for movie theaters now? You have to show that you've had a test, or
right in the city of Los Angeles. Starting, I believe it's November 4th. You must have a vax card to go to bars, restaurants, and movie theaters. It is going to fail miserably. I feel like
movies right when they're coming back, dude.
Right when they're coming back, it's going to affect a lot of these films. So the El Capitan Theater and the TCL Chinese, they're going to check everyone's vax card that's coming in to go to a movie. I mean, and let me just say this too. I did get vaccinated, my personal choice. I also don't care if you don't, but I will say I got vaccinated early in February. Gary, I'm older than you. I'm older than you.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
So I just looked at the
Nobody's older than Gary here.
Yeah. But I will say this so I got vaccinated. I thought, okay, I can take my mask off. This is the last lie. I am so like, I feel like an idiot. Like I've been dating a crazy girl called the United States government or the government of California.
When I pay taxes, I feel like a moron too, which I just did.
So I have this Vax card, but there's no way I'm getting a booster. There's no way. I'm done. I feel like the hill to die on is all of this, including the stuff that now children have to get vaccinated. And my kids are grown and make their own decisions. But I don't know, like, if I had kids of the age, I would not have them vaccinated under no circumstance. Not the way this has been handled.
That's a tough one. Nobody's. I put that decision in my kids. My kid is old enough. He's 16. I just said, well, if you want to get it, you can get it. If you don't, you don't. It's up to you, bud. So
I think, for stuff like this, I would just advise people to talk to their doctor and go with their recommendations.
Oh, I forgot. You have to say that because of YouTube, right? You have to say.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. So yes, consult your doctor.
As long as we don't talk about climate change today, we're fine.
Oh, yeah, we're good.
New one.
New one.
That's the new one.
So
don't talk about it. Sorry, I brought it up.
God.
So for you, Chris, I should probably like just get the lay of the land here. Have you seen the latest Bond movie? Are you?
Yes.
Have you not experienced it yet?
Yes, I did, and I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed Bond. Kind of, they totally sold this. They tricked us, basically. They said this is going to be woke. It's going to be a response to Me Too. And it wasn't that. It really wasn't. I mean, yeah, there were touches. There were a couple like that cringe speech where Bond is on his knees and kind of whimpering. That was, and there was a line that I thought was really unsettling where he said small men. I feel like that was Phoebe Waller-Bridge had a hand in that.
Yep.
And it's the scene where he's with Ana de Armas and she like leads him into like a wine cellar so that she can give him his tuxedo and get him ready for this soiree that he's going into. And Bond, assumes like, oh, hey, we're gonna do this already, and there's a really awkward just laugh from her where she's like, oh no, me, no, like as if to say like you're far too old and I'm not interested in you. And that was absolutely their response to the whole Me Too thing. It's like, nope, like this young beautiful woman is not going to be interested in a middle-aged guy like Bond.
Yeah, it was I would say probably the least sexy James Bond, with the exception of her character. I mean, she was great, she just didn't get enough screen time. I mean,
she's in and out in 10 minutes, isn't she?
She's likable. I mean, like, her personality was good. They wrote I totally agree with you, Drinker. There's the Phoebe Waller-Bridge was all over that scene and a couple of other scenes. But she was a likable character, but then she went into like doing flips with her heels on.
I swear to God, I'm willing to bet that the way it was originally written in the script, she was just your typical Bond girl. She was cool, suave, sophisticated, elegant, and they had a bit of like tete-a-tete and a bit of banter between them, and there was sexual chemistry there. And then they went and did that cool mission, and she did all her fighting stuff. Then they brought in Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and her job was just to rewrite that scene to make her like this goofy, like, oh, I'm just like 2 weeks on the job kind of thing. This is the first mission I've done. Isn't it all so cool? And she fucks everything up.
Out 3 guys.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's like clunk. Right, we've gone from Phoebe's bit to like the original script again, and then suddenly she's this ass-kicking like femme fatale, and like there's nothing in between to explain how that changes. And it's like, yeah, it's literally just she was told to rewrite that one scene, and then they just went, fuck it, just slot it in, that'll do. But it's so out of place.
I mean, this film is not Terminator Dark Fate, which I think is probably the worst example of just on the nose freaking intersectional feminist writing. Was freaking awful from beginning to end. This one it's a competently made film. There's decent acting. The action scenes are freaking great when you get them. And the cinematography is some of the best I've seen in a Bond film. Yes, I think Cary Joji Fukunaga is a talented director, kind of a dipshit, but a talented director. But it's subtle. It's like I said earlier, it's still a deconstruction of Bond. By the end, like they have dispatched not just Bond, every facet of Bond, but they had started that at the beginning of the Daniel Craig era. So like it's not all this the stuff that and I'm sure you guys talked about that before I got on, was just it's mopey, and it's yes, it's a lot like Bourne. There's no real gadgets, there's no levity at all. And
this is the Craig era has barely had gadgets.
Yeah.
It's been really lame. The most complicated gadget he's ever had is a watch that exploded, I think.
And we're in the era of effing gadgets. Like we should have phenomenal gadgets. But it's just more
grounded, Gary.
Yeah, more grounded.
But wait, who would have guessed that Q was gay?
Oh fuck
Who could have guessed that?
You know that line's getting edited for China. So it'll be like him just going, "Oh, she'll be here in 20 minutes." No fucking way are they going to leave him gay for China. That'll be getting changed.
You can't even have effeminate men now. That's probably why Shang-Chi's not opening up there. So I'll give my
Ooh, brutal.
Oh.
Yeah, I said it. But yeah, that's Q. I like the actor playing Q though. I like Moneypenny. I liked a lot of things that were in this movie, but it just felt like they were going through the motions at times just to dispatch characters. I mean, full on spoilers here, right? Like they dispatch Felix Leiter, Spectre, Blofeld, Bond. By the
Felix's death was so lame.
It was so
in terms of killing like the mythology of the whole series. This is like TLJ levels of like just character assassination, literal assassination. You know, like Felix was great. I liked this new version of Felix Leiter. You know,
Jeffrey Wright, he's a great actor. And
he's a good actor.
You know, as soon as the guy was like, he shouldn't be talking. Literally, like I felt like I was in the scene for a moment, and I was like, guys. That's something a bad guy would say. Like he's probably a bad guy.
Yeah,
and there
was but they don't seem to notice. So
that dude was so out of place. That traitorous CIA agent, and it was so annoying because that scene like between Felix and Bond in the nightclub was great. Like that by itself was fine, but then you've got this fucking idiot in the background just doing all his goofy jokes, and he doesn't get anything. Oh, he's such a big fanboy of Bond. Like. How the fuck would a guy like that even be a CIA field agent? Nobody that's that stupid would be allowed to do a job like that.
And like, we could have just fucking kept him out, and then he maybe breaks into the ship, and you know, Felix notices at the last minute that he's about to shoot Bond and takes the bullet for him or something. Instead of he just gets shot sort of during the fight, and then he just dies. And you're like, oh.
You know what would have been interesting is because there was subversion of expectations in this too. The whole Spectre thing, like Spectre gets wiped out in the first half of the movie, and it would have been interesting to see the CIA and MI6 going at like and Bond and Felix are kind of like trying to keep the peace and work together while these two agencies are going after each other for this nano weapon that M helps develop. You know, and
about deconstruction, M's almost a villain in this.
He is. Yeah.
They get really close to that, but then they never quite commit to it. So you've got scenes where M is now like drinking heavily, and he's obviously like stressed to the max because his secret's going to get out, and Bond's making fun of him. You know, did this office get bigger or did you get smaller?
It felt really awkward to me. I was like, you wanted me to believe that M is developing a weapon that he's like, it's better than an agent because you can just kill anybody at any moment at your preference. I was like, M, what the fuck? Like,
it could quite easily get into the wrong hands and be weaponized.
Exactly, it's a horrible device.
Yeah, that it didn't make sense, and it was.
I also don't understand how like Bond has this big falling out with M, and M basically tells him to piss off. Because he's mocking him for his drinking, and then like the next time they're together, they just meet up, and like suddenly they're best friends again, and Bond's now working for MI6 again. But there's nothing to connect that. There's no like moment of Bond apologizing or them reconciling or anything. Just suddenly they're working together again.
Do you think there was something lost in reshoots and recutting and retooling? They certainly had plenty of time to do that.
I think there's been a whole lot changed in reshoots with this movie.
They had so much time to tool around with it. They were probably worried because it needs to be successful, right? This one's got to work.
Very.
This is trouble.
And it might
they were talking 900 million, weren't they, to break even?
MovieWeb reported $900 million. That's what they needed to make. Odin, who's on FNT with me, he breaks down the box office stuff way better than I did. He said it's more like 750 to 800 million. That's still a lot of, and it could make it. Who knows? It's like pacing really well. But that, just to make, as Chris knows, as all you guys know, people don't make movies just to break even or slightly profit. You want to double, triple, quadruple your money. You need to make lots and lots of money. Now, Hollywood lies. That's one thing. They lie.
What?
I know.
You're kidding, Gary.
I need to lie down.
Box office numbers are total bullshit. They're all total bullshit. Why would you tell the government I made all this money to tax me? It's Hollywood voodoo economics, and we have no idea what these things really make and who's pocketing what. And you can tell when a movie like hurts a studio when they go, like Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 made money. It was for its time. It was it made the most money of any Spider-Man film. But they at the 11th hour dumped a $50 million contract that they offered Tobey Maguire for Spider-Man 4 and I think a 5. They were going to have Sam Raimi come back, and they decided to reboot the whole thing. Why? Because there was a horrible critical response, and they probably lost a lot of effing money on that movie. It probably cost a fortune to make, and they just lost a bunch of money. Nobody really knows, but I know I'm not bringing any news to big surprise. Hollywood's full of shit, and they lie about everything, and it's all for show. But we could sit there and try to argue over it. But like Solo lost money, and that was obvious because Disney freaked out, panicked, and canceled everything after that. So
yeah. But Gary, that Shang-Chi made a shit ton of money from Marvel, right?
Oh, it's such a huge success.
Couldn't even hit fucking 400 million.
I think Spider-Man 3 was worth it, if only for the Tobey Maguire dancing memes. That was for the memes alone.
Bully Maguire.
Yeah. Those memes were worth it for that film.
It is, but think about it now. Like, what would you rather have? Like Andrew Garfield's 2 Spider-Man movie, or maybe giving Sam Raimi a chance with Tobey after that? And hearing what they have planned with Mysterio, Bruce Campbell as Mysterio, it would have been freaking awesome.
Yeah, it would have been great. Bruce Campbell is the man. Love him.
I was going to as well talk, Gary, about because I know you're obviously only on for a limited time. Like your thoughts on the House of the Dragon trailer and what you think. But I was going to perhaps just do a couple of super chats because I kind of wanted to do them as we go. And cover like the ones that are dealing with Bond and stuff. So I'll try and get through a few of them quickly.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I'm having fun, so I'll stay a little bit longer.
Hey, that's it. We've got to keep Gary entertained. Like, keep him happy.
I have a ton of work to do, but it's totally irresponsible.
This is more important, man. You'll enjoy this more. All right, just give me 1 second while I bring these up. Right, supers. All right. So I guess these ones will be dealing with Bond. The first one. All right, so this one's for me. Mr. Cheese says, Drinker, you scintillating and scholarly summarizer of cinematic services. I mentioned Kelly's Heroes on your last open bar, and you just went ahead and covered it in extra shots. Was absolutely thrilled. Have a drink on me. It was a pleasure to review that movie, man, and it just absolutely took me back to a different era in Hollywood. When movies were genuinely fun, and I just hope they never ever try to remake Kelly's Heroes, because where the fuck are you going to get another Clint Eastwood and another Telly Savalas and another Donald Sutherland?
They don't exist. They would be toxic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Scott Eastwood is just kind of a clone of his dad. I'll give them that. But yeah, you're not going to get the others. RRTNZ says, Hail Drinker, pissed prince of pros. Thanks for the great content and respect you show fans. Enough gushing. Go away now and have a pint on me. Cheers. Thanks, mate. And I absolutely will. Unhinged says, the bar is upended and I'm ready to be served all night long. Well, we'll do our best, mate. Chucksenhausen, all I'll say is when Cobra Kai comes out, a happy hour with Drinker as and the most salacious as is needed. Good God, I pray it stays legendary. It always will. We'll guarantee it. RRTNZ says, Hail Drinker, in my humble opinion, perfect casting for Anya is Ivana Milicevic, Croatian American from Banshee show, though looks the part and can do brutal fight scenes. Cheers. Have any of you guys seen Banshee?
Banshee's awesome.
I have not, no.
Do you know the actress that this guy's referring to? Ivana Milicevic.
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree.
Nice. All right. Well, we found Aranya then.
No, if you guys haven't seen Banshee, watch Banshee. It's brilliant. Some of the best TV that I've ever seen. I'd say I put it in my top 15 all-time series. It's damn good.
Nick B says, watch Casablanca today. Still great. What's your thoughts? Yes, it is. Yeah, like the casting and stuff. Like, when are you ever going to get Humphrey Bogart or a guy like him again? Like, it's going to take some beating. Rob H, Hail Drinker and guests, have you seen that god-awful Resident Evil trailer? Well, we will talk about that. I didn't have high hopes going in, but man, it looked awful. Just zero effort. Ellie's a tangerine, by the way.
Beautiful.
Oh my god.
Well, I tell you what, before we go into Resident Evil stuff, like Gary, like I say, I wanted to get your thoughts on House of the Dragon. So what the fuck, man? What do you think? Are you so happy that George is devoting his time to making this instead of writing Winds of Winter?
I've got a video coming out on this probably Saturday or Sunday. I'm not shocked at all of how a lot of people kind of forgot how gay 8 ended. I like Matt Smith, and if you look at the trailer, it looks fine. But I'm going to ask you guys: do you care anymore, especially about the Targaryens? And it's a story that takes place 200 years before a story that just ended abysmally. Like,
no,
I don't care. I don't care.
Don't give a shit.
A little bit angry at them, to be honest with you. So I guess I care in that sense, but fuck them. I still have scars, damn you.
So what makes it worse is this book, Fire and Blood. So this is based on the Dance of the Dragon. So George did write that story before, but he took the time to, that story's been in a bunch of books, by the way. He took the time to put that in more detail in a book called Fire and Blood Part 1. He took time out of writing Winds of Winter to write this history book so they could develop, he denies this, but it's so he could develop another HBO series just about the Targaryens. So there will be no White Walkers. There will be no Essos unless they force it in somehow. And it's just the political intrigue of Westeros. And they're basing it on a story with little to no character interaction. They do have some dialogue in the book, but it's not a lot. You don't get like the personalities of the characters. What he's basically doing is describing a history. The book is from the basically a maester's two maesters point of view and a fool, okay, and a named Mushroom, and it's like an unreliable history, and they're trying to put together the Dance of the Dragons, the Fall of the Dragons, and it's the darkest story you could possibly imagine. It's all about betrayal. It's super nihilistic. Sorry, spoilers. Pretty much everybody dies by the end. It's just, and including most of the dragons. And it pretty much it's the beginning of the end of the Targaryens, which they never really gave a satisfactory conclusion to in the main series. So, like, why do you care about the Targaryens? They're obviously idiots. If you go by Daenerys and just Game of Thrones, the show, the Targaryens were idiots. And Westeros was a bunch of idiots for being worried about these morons who, if you just let them kill each other, you'd have been fine. I'm into the story. I'm into A Song of Ice and Fire. I've obsessively read all the books. I don't like Fire and Blood. I've only read it once. I thought it was really boring, and I think George has kind of lost it. So I don't know if he can even finish Winds of Winter at this point. But when it comes to the show, I'll cover it, but I could care less. I'm still pissed about how they ended Game of Thrones and how the books got derailed and how, George, just come out and tell people you're not going to finish the book. That's it. If you can't finish
it's about time, yeah.
But stringing people along it's messed up. And you're fucking with people now. The people who like supported you, and yeah, you know what? I'm the dummy. I'm the one who invested my time and money into this book. I'm the fool. I admit that. And no, he doesn't have any obligation to me or any other fan to finish it or give us anything. And he is not taking that obligation. He is absolutely fine, completely leading people on, telling people he's going to finish the story when he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How the fuck do I follow that one up? Yeah, like my attitude is basically, I don't really care about this show. It just doesn't seem like anything I should bother about. The trailer gives us no insight into any of the characters. It doesn't really pick anyone out as particularly interesting. There's a black Targaryen now. I don't know how the fuck that works when they've got like white hair and fair skin, but yeah, apparently that's the thing now. Fuck it. Yeah, it just seems like garbage. It's basically going to be the Hobbit to the Lord of the Rings in terms of movie making.
Absolutely.
Except Lord of the Rings was good.
That's true. Yeah, that puts us on an even worse footing now.
It'll be competing against a Lord of the Rings series directly that year. It's coming out the same year. They're both coming out next year. So that'll be interesting. We'll see.
But you're excited about Lord of the Rings, aren't you, Gary? I could tell.
Gary, we have so many conversations to come, don't we?
Yeah,
dude. Especially with what I'm hearing from the series, they're going to do it. They're going to put politics in it. They're going to put intersectional feminism in it. They are modernizing it. They've given us all the keywords. They're updating it for a modern audience, and yeah, that should be great.
It's just like, what must Tolkien's estate think of this? What must his family think of this to see what his work has been turned into?
You ever see Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? When and they got Gus Van Sant. What the hell was the shit? I'm blanking on the film. They're doing a sequel to Good Will Hunting, Good Will Hunting 2, and they go up to Gus Van Sant and they ask him, and he's like counting. He was just sitting there counting money. That's what the estate's doing. They're just counting money. Yeah. They're piles of Amazon money. They could care less. Christopher Tolkien, when he died, he was the great gatekeeper, one of the greatest sons who ever lived, guardian of his father's legacy, and actually added to it very well. Isn't it funny how production ramped up within a month of him dying? Like they were stalled. Rewriting scripts, firing writers, couldn't get anything going. He passes away. All of a sudden, boom, things start moving.
I mean, J.R.R. Tolkien's estate, like one of the greatest selling authors in history, like they must be okay for money, you would think. Like, what would entice them to sign off on
with
this
more money, though? From their perspective, maybe. I don't know. The responsibility you have there as well. Just almost feel bad for, like, if you are the sole sort of decider on whether or not this stuff gets made, and you know you're dying, or you know that you're coming to the end, sort of thing, and it's like you need to trust someone that much with what is essentially one of the most important pieces of media in the history of humanity, in terms of, like, don't fuck it up. It's like, man, you got to choose wisely on that one.
Yeah,
it depends. I mean, how much is enough? Like Stan Lee, what I was told, Stan Lee said yes to everything towards the end. There was no money he would turn down. And I was told by one of his handlers he did it for his daughter, who he was estranged from. Never quite believed it, but I could listen. For my kids, I would sell Nerdrotic for anything. If I felt like I needed to make sure my kids' future was insured. But if you're already like multi-millionaires, yeah, wouldn't the legacy of your father's story at least factor in? Now, I can understand if the heirs of Tolkien were just dirt poor, and yeah, go ahead, sell out so you can have your heirs taken care of. But legacy is the only, you know what, only fans care about it at this point. Let's be honest, only fans give a shit about legacy. In Hollywood, they could care less. They see legacy, they see canon. Those are restrictive to them. Those constrict them, which is bullshit. It saves you a bunch of time. You don't have to build a world or build lore. Yeah, you got to stay within rules, but I would say that's easier than building your own world from the ground up. But we have a serious lack of talent in Hollywood. That's why we need people of talent, to work on these.
I mean, Chris, you've talked about this in the kind of videos that I've seen you in. You know, the problems that you get with modern Hollywood and the shortcomings in writing quality and you know, all of these different aspects that used to be so strong. You know, where has it gone wrong for you? Like, how did they go so badly wrong with all of this?
I would say the answer to that is that the pedigree of the people who get put in the positions to be able to make those decisions are fucking morons. Everyone on this live stream would be able to make better decisions than most of the people in Hollywood with these. And it's also a question of too many cooks. You know, you get too many cooks and everything noted to death, and then people dying on the hill for their stupid idea that they wanted inserted into a project. That's why movies went from being a tight 2 hours. Remember, there was this sort of golden era where like movies were 2 hours, right? Comedies were 90 minutes, movies were 2 hours. Once they started to slide into 220 to 2.5 hours, it's like, that's just, to me, that's, I think, when you're compromising things. In addition to, you mentioned Terminator Dark Fate earlier, Gary, like that one, that's an example of everything going wrong, in my opinion. And even like the director, like that thing blew up in his face, the promotion of that. With Bond was kind of a surprise that it's like, oh wow, it didn't suck like we thought it would, right? So it actually made me like it a lot better than I probably would have. Also, having been starved for like decent films in a long time. But I really think it's truly the people in these positions that have power are pricks, because in order to get into that position, you're so compromised. And I would say this is true of potentially politicians or people who are in unelected positions making a lot of decisions about our lives. The people willing to put up with the amount of bullshit to get into those positions, to be privileged enough to make those decisions, are assholes, and then they hire the wrong people. So it's like, and you've mentioned it many times, Gary, like they are literally casting the writers and directors of these shows where the real key decisions are being made by other people. It's all to make themselves look good, right? It's the ultimate virtue signal. I mean, I miss the days where people would just slap on a ribbon in the 90s and they were done with it. You know, there was at least some commitment to entertainment or to the audience, but it kind of sickens me that we have this industry. Weird comparison. The food industry, I believe, is fairly responsive to consumers. I mean, Domino's even did a campaign where they said their pizza was terrible, and they responded to that. Like, you've even got, like, whether you like it or not, if you're a vegetarian, you have options now going to fast food restaurants. You can get a Beyond Whopper, which is fine. Not for me, but there are options and choices. I mean, you could say Morgan Spurlock's Super Size Me movie changed the food industry. Food industry is responsive because you get those sales right. Where is that for the entertainment industry? Do they not see that people are turned off by being lectured to in these films? And I don't understand, where is the sober-minded, you know, I almost miss the accountant saying, hey, these things are losing money. Saturday Night Live, a 50% drop in its opening. I mean, the stuff that Kyle Dunnigan and Kurt Metzger are doing is just objectively so much funnier than anything happening on SNL. I mean, it's amazing. I just did Chrissy Mayer's podcast, and we talked about the last time, and maybe the only time, SNL ever made fun of woke culture, which was a commercial for a thing called Woke Jeans with Ryan Gosling. You probably don't want to play it, but you can look it up. But this it like makes fun of wokeness. It's like, that was 2017 when they did that, and now it's just falling in line with, we're only going to make fun of one side. Yep. It's sick. So I don't understand where the people at a certain level in entertainment, studio head, saying these have to make money. We need to please the mainstream audience. We're not going for the 10%, because I do believe it is a minority of people that hold these views, right? That they have, and the problem is that they feel like they have to pander to them so much that it hurts the product in the end, right? Like just to me, the most sickening decision was not having Han, Luke, and Leia reunited in Force Awakens. That could have been the handoff film, right? That could have been the film where like we see the three of them reunited. I mean, I
that should be prosecuted as a crime. Crime against imagination. It's and that's Robert Meyer.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've said before, like people often deride this idea of fan service, and I think if it's done for the right reasons, what is so bad about just like giving the fans what they want, just once in a while? Just say, you know what, this scene, this bit, this plot twist, whatever. This is just for you guys because we appreciate you.
If you call that fan service, the movie's existence alone is fan service, right? Like it's not being made for any other reason than they're like, there's fans of this thing called Star Wars. If we can make more, we can get more money out of them. So we're going to try. J.J. Abrams practically made it explicit. He was trying to create the experience of a fan like re-watching A New Hope. Well, that's what he wanted to do, and it was hollow as fuck.
It just I think there's a difference between fan service and what I would call what J.J. Abrams does, which he gives fan jobs. That's what I think that he does. So, like, because it's so pandering, it's so transparent, it's so is a profound lack of understanding of what Star Wars is. That Marsha Lucas quote that came out was so biting and so like I just don't understand why there isn't sort of a Hollywood waking up to the fact that they have failed the audience. They have failed the people that are giving you money. This is why I compare it to the food industry. And I wish there was some event or even a documentary like what Morgan Spurlock did that changed the food industry. It really did. There needs to be some, maybe it's in the form of a documentary or something that, or a book, just something to break down this failure to, I mean, these movies, all the Star Wars movies, had they been done correctly, should have made $2.5 billion each.
Yes.
Easy money. Just by, I don't know. It's so much. I've met those people.
Do you guys remember there was a considered effort when TLJ came out to be like, you shouldn't be reviewing it unless you've seen it at least twice. And it was like, excuse me? And I remember being like, what the fuck? Because loads of people repeating this. It's like, you can't really review and you've only seen it the once. I was like, you trying to pump the fucking numbers on this movie? Like when there's people who literally don't want to see a Star Wars movie ever again because they're so depressed from seeing it. Like,
yeah.
Which is like a Star Wars movie did that? It's like, how the fuck?
Other reviewers catch on to keywords. I mean, it happens with everybody, but they catch on to keywords like absolute triumph. And I think that was part of it. And I think that's also probably some Disney suggestion.
Dude, I think a lot of people really liked it and had no fucking clue why. And so they were like, I need to see it again. And you should see it too, Mr. Hates It. You shouldn't, you don't know why. Because a lot of it's confusing as hell in that movie. I don't know if you guys remember, but like people trying to piece the plot line together, they didn't even realize that Finn's didn't do anything. Like it was all pointless, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
But he met up with them in the end. It's like, yeah.
I want to point out like how, because MauLer and Critical Drinker, have you ever heard of Attack of the Show? Did you guys get that over in the UK?
No.
I don't think so, no.
So Chris Gore was on a show on a network called G4. I'm going to embarrass you, dude.
No.
Called Attack of the Show back in the aughts. So it was the nerd show. They talked about tech. They talked about DVDs. They talked about comic books. That's where Olivia Munn came from. She dressed up like Slave Leia, like blew up, what was the internet back then. And she walked around at Comic-Con. Well, Chris Gore was on that show. He did a thing called DVD Tuesday. He would recommend, and he's the reason I like the movie The Losers. He wore my comic shop's shirt one day through a little barter we did at Comic-Con. But Chris Gore's a legend when it comes to with nerds of my age. We all watched that fucking show. Everybody did. And we all talked about it every Wednesday. So Chris, even talking to us right now, I mean, I'd say MauLer and Critical Drinker are respected. I'm really not. But
that's a blatant lie, Gary. I'm not respected.
I respect you.
None of us are respected.
But the fact that he's talking to us is cool as hell, and it is brave. Because you can get in a lot of trouble talking to us. Apparently,
really
stupid. But
the thing that pisses me off is when TLJ came out, and I initially was like, look, and just so you know, I love Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker was like that long 3 years between seeing Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi I was in high school at the time as a kid, and wow, I wanted to see the conclusion of this, right? With Return of the Jedi, just seeing Luke Skywalker on screen in TLJ and having him at least have some decent moments. I'm talking about, facing the entire Empire, right? Or like the First Order, whatever, was like profound for me. And but what was shocking was the divide about that film. And by the divide, meaning like, you can love it, you can hate it, I'm not going to dislike you. And what I began to see, and it was you, Gary, and I think it was Jeremy, Geeks and Gamers, and the Quartering, you being attacked for just having an opinion that was different. And I'd never seen that before in fandom. I'd never seen that before. We're like, wait a second, people are allowed, like, I don't give a shit if you have an opinion that varies from mine or whatnot. I love diversity of opinion. That is what we need, right? So that was where this weird turn in fandom, and the fact that like people officially affiliated with Lucasfilm were coming after you in sort of back end ways with that, like, I don't even want to mention that website or whatever but that was just, I was sort of aghast, like, what are you doing? Like, these are the most passionate fans talking about this, and if they have an issue, you might want to listen. So that sort of fracturing of fandom. I mean, you mentioned Attack of the Show, and I appreciate that, Gary. I have no idea what the new Attack of the Show is going to be. I have nothing to do with it. I'm
the original. You guys were funny as hell. You took chances.
Well, I will say, like, looking through, because I'm doing this documentary about it, and I'm going through footage. There is no way the stuff that we did back then could ever happen again. Like, it's not in today's day and age. We would be canceled.
Oh, yes, you would.
This is something I find myself seeing a lot, right? And it's so depressing. And not to bring down the mood or anything, but like, when Az and I were talking about Tropic Thunder, and we were just laughing our asses off going through that movie, and like every single scene, we were just thinking, no, this couldn't be done today. This would never be allowed. It would get cancelled or whatever. And I just think, God damn, like what a bleak, mindless, empty kind of entertainment landscape we're going to be left with when this is all done. Like the generation that's growing up now, what fucking comedies are they going to look to and say, yeah, that was funny as hell. That was a great film back in the day. There's going to be nothing, because it's, in order to be so safe and in order to avoid getting canceled today, you essentially can't be funny anymore.
You've got Dave Chappelle for another 5 minutes. There's that.
Yeah. That guy's living on borrowed time, man. I fucking love Dave Chappelle, but he's saying the wrong things now. And
I got nothing but respect. Nothing but respect for that man. The amount of things he said on his latest special that would absolutely destroy his career potentially, and he said it anyway.
Epic.
Yep. I love him.
God, we've got so much stuff to cover now. Like, just in the last few days, it just all kind of dumped on me. I'm going to bitch about this. My computer died. My brand new computer died. I'm so pissed. So it's in the shop, and I was like Frankensteining my Venom video. I had to make it on 3 different computers and send it to Perry Chan to finish. I'm like, I don't have a computer to finish this thing on. And I was like working off a laptop, and I've got like basically a loaner right now that's working fine. But like all this stuff happens, Chappelle, freaking Game of Thrones, and No Time to Die. And Lee Chappelle was good though. Chappelle was like watching him do that and for one, he's got FU money, but it's just nice hearing that. It's just like sticks and stones. It was that dude. We need more people like that. And it's a lot of it's fear. What's going on in Hollywood, a lot of it's fear. I just talked to an old friend of mine a couple of days ago, MauLer. We already know the conversation. He's like seen complete cuts of Marvel films, and I am allowed to say he thought Eternals was just absolute crap.
What?
But he's saying the environment now, I know it's a big shock. The environment there is fear. It's fear. You cannot, like, if you step out of line, your job is done. And all the school you went to, working all your life, your dream was to work there. And what I told him was, there's got to be a point where you guys like got to say something. You can't just like be in fear, because it's got to be half of you, right? Joe Rogan has said there's no way that everybody thinks the same politically in that big of an industry. So it's got to be at least a third of the people are afraid to talk. The third of the people don't give a crap. And the other third might actually believe in those politics. Who knows? But it's the people in power. And it's the people who run, who run casting. It's a producer driven industry now. Chris brought it up. They cast directors now. I mean, like Marvel movies are done. And that got outed by a woman who I forgot her name now, turned down Black Widow because she said, I wasn't going to direct the action scenes or the CG or the effects scenes.
It's not a film. It wouldn't be a film. Yeah, by the way, interesting tidbit about that. I don't know if you guys know, recently some deleted scenes for Black Widow came out. So, no. If you remember, and I put it in my video because I thought it was fucking hilarious, she was asked how Natasha escapes, and she said, fucking, I don't know, make up whatever you want.
Yeah, it's like we didn't want to put that in because we didn't want to cloud people's narrative judgment or something.
Well,
some bullshit.
Well, so the idea I got from her was one, a bullshit excuse, which is invent your own, woohoo. But then secondly, which by the way Ryan said about TLJ when there was no third lesson, if you remember, he said just make up a lesson for Ray. I don't know. It's pathetic, right? Sorry. So she said that, and then she ended with saying, "I don't know, like what happened." And there's a deleted scene where it shows how Natasha escapes Ross. So
they did it, and then she just
they filmed it. So I'm assuming it's not one of her scenes. Like it's just one that was done already, and she didn't even know it existed potentially, which is infinitely hilarious. By the way, it's incredibly well put together. She's handcuffed in the back of Ross's truck, and he's talking to her. And then he keeps talking, and he realizes she's not responding anymore, turns his head, and she's used something from her suit to unlock the cuffs, broke out of the car, and the doors are just swinging open. And he didn't hear any of it.
And that's it. That's all you get.
All that was separating them was a grate. And for some reason, he couldn't hear his fucking van's door being opened and her breaking out. And I was just like, yeah, so probably good you deleted that. Not that the film is fucking good anyway, but yeah.
It really feels just like they're not even trying anymore. It's like, we could come up with smart solutions and we can come up with cool setup and payoff and like good character moments and all that stuff. But why the fuck should we bother? Like people are going to pay to see our movie no
Absolutely,
matter what. We're Marvel. Why do we have to care?
Yeah, it's writing fundamentals you've talked about many times on your channel, as have I. Where when you bring up like, oof, they went a bit far with the Force in TLJ or in Force Awakens with this particular thing, and then someone goes, "Oh, come on, the Force was space magic. Like, why are you fucking like, who cares?" And it's like the problem is the second you stop caring, it'll just go out of control, and eventually there's people who are using planets as marbles and they're just throwing them all around, and we're just like, what the hell is this? And it's like Yoda, a master of the Force, struggles to move an X-wing. And then there's other people who are just like dominating, getting just like this is lame. You've done a power creep and you've ruined it all now. Now it's just Force magic bullshit. And the same thing applies for superheroes. It's like, oh, so Natasha can't, but Iron Man can. It's like, yeah, because that's how it should work. Because she's not superhuman. And then they're just like, wow, sexism. like oh no.
Yeah.
That's why I like the Daredevil show when I first started watching it a while back. I was like, man, it's really cool to see a character who gets punched and is like can be exhausted because of it.
Well, that's why I enjoyed Nobody. Like Bob Odenkirk's character, like he actually gets the shit kicked out of him, and when someone punches him, it actually can floor him. And by the end, he's properly fucked up and like beaten and bleeding and everything. But like that's what he goes through to get to the end.
They genuinely don't grasp this shit. It's like, you understand, they're easier to like when they have limits.
Yeah. Like, you look at John McClane from the original Die Hard. It was great. You really felt for him when he's shit scared. He's completely unequipped for the situation he's in. When he has to like walk across that floor of broken glass and you see him crawling into the bathroom, like trailing blood behind him because his feet are all like mashed up. You feel sorry for the guy and you want him to win. And it's not about like, if he was done in a movie today and he was, say, like a female of color, he would be killing terrorists by the 100, and he wouldn't break a sweat doing it. But where's the challenge in that? Where's the investment? You don't care about a character like that because they're just invincible.
Well, I mean, if you think about to the original Raiders of the Lost Ark, he loses at every turn. He loses in the end, right? I mean, he just survives. Yes, he gets the Ark, but it's taken away from him immediately by top men. So I mean, it's weird to me that we can't see a female character lose and fail and lose in a bad way where we actually can identify with that. Oh, and by the way, you mentioned that movie Nobody, which is freaking awesome with Bob Odenkirk. A movie that was made, the same director made before that, called Hardcore Henry, you definitely need to check out.
Yeah, Hardcore Henry's great.
Oh, it's so great. It's all like first person point of view action movie. It's just it's awesome. So,
but yeah, when we were talking about Indiana Jones there, and like I love that scene where he's on the boat with Marion, the ship, and like he's trying to get his shirt off, and he's all like beaten up and bruised and everything. She's trying to look at herself in the mirror and just swings it round and smacks him right on the chin. You just hear him screaming. It's just like, again, it's just like, Indy's like a character who gets beat up over the course of his movie, and he can't just like walk it off. Like, it really kind of takes its toll on him.
Yeah, that's what made him awesome. Hey, could you share that real quick, Drinker? I got something to share for the audience. Just to
all right, hold on.
Oh no,
I found it. I can't believe there's an archive of this episode that exists.
Oh yeah, there we go.
This is embarrassing.
That's Chris.
So can we play it?
Oh no, I don't know if you could play it, right? Please don't. Oh,
hang on.
Stuff ready, so I want to talk about right now. What's up first?
The Losers.
The Losers. I know, like, the film didn't do super well in the box office, and there's a lot of mixed reviews. I don't know what you think.
It totally worked. I mean, the comic book, as you know, it's sort of weird for a comic book. There's no superheroes, no one with capes in it. It's an action comic book with a.
I'm trying to find where we can see you. Where can we see you? There he is.
Captain America no
hey.
South America. And did an action movie together because you've got Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Chris Evans,
what a
and of course Zoe Saldana.
Oh my god,
that sexy shirt.
The chemistry just completely works.
The shirt's cool.
It's the sense of humor that really makes it.
So what special features do we get on the DVD?
That's the thing. It's loaded with special features, including a mini documentary about the comic book itself. How they did all of this bizarre.
By the way, Idris Elba is in this film.
Action.
Also, is that's Olivia Munn?
That's Olivia Munn.
Yeah, I worked with her.
She went from this to acting. Like, how did she?
Yeah. That's why she was famous in the first place, because she was Chris.
She was silent, wasn't she?
She was hot, and Chris worked with her for 5 years, and she was considered like a nerd queen. I preferred her the other co-host, Chris. But
she was not. I mean, she doesn't know anything about nerd stuff. She really, other than that she would want to be cast in something, she truthfully didn't know a lot. I think she's talked about that, but I thought she was great to work with. But it's weird when you work with someone like Olivia Munn like that. For me, I just sort of, in my brain, it's like, I just think of her as like my sister. You know what I mean? It's like off limits. I work with this person professionally. That's it. She may be attractive, but that I would never cross that line. So it was an odd experience. Yes, I have more to say on that. But
I can't believe I found it. That's odd. That existed anymore. So I just found the title.
But the thing is, I mean, that segment was fun, but I was always trying to just sneak stuff in, like weird indie movies or weird movie knowledge. But I was only on like 5 minutes a week, so it was just like talk about like 5 movies in 5 minutes. You're just like, and it's live. So if I screw up, I did get to mispronounce swear words, which was really fun. I would say that this director is a shatheed, which was always a fun thing to say on live TV.
Think about the impact TV had at that time, where you were on once a week for 5 minutes. We all knew who you were. Like, over any rock star, you know.
But I like that. I mean, TV doesn't have the cultural impact now. I mean, look at the death of late night TV. It's dead. Late night TV is dead.
What, you mean Late Night with Lily Singh wasn't a massive hit? What the fuck?
Oh my God!
Come on, Chris.
Clips from that were terrible. Oh,
I think they actually had to hold people at gunpoint to get them to laugh.
This is late night
jokes.
now.
yeah.
Open bar, Friday Night Tights, EFAP. That's freaking late night now. So.
That's what we've devolved into. You fucking degenerates! You're watching us. You're getting your kicks from us.
What went so wrong?
but it's what I love about all of you, because I think I discovered all of you from FNT. Well, FNT just became like a must view for me every week. I mean, I change my schedule to watch it, or it's like if I know I'm driving somewhere, I'm going on a long drive, I'll listen to it in the car. But like, it's the authenticity, and that's why I think YouTube is popular. It's authenticity, and you can't fake that. And that's why when you look at someone like a Jimmy Kimmel, I can't believe what a sellout he's become. Like, it comes across, there's a falseness. That's why even the stuff like what happened recently with the Let's Go Brandon and Critical Drink, you might not know about this if you're not paying attention to college football.
Oh, no, it's fine. I know. Like, fuck Joe Biden is actually Let's Go Brandon in code.
But what's weird...
Let's go, Brandon.
But here's the creepy thing about it. Not that people are saying, fuck Joe Biden at stadiums and concerts all across the country and filming it and putting it online or on social media. It's the fact that a woman on national TV tried to gaslight the audience into thinking they weren't hearing that. That is how inauthentic mainstream media has become, where they're gaslighting us in real time. And I see that in how could you trust anything now, whether it's mainstream news or unelected officials that have so much power over us, right? Like I've reached that, like, the hill to die on. I'm on it right now. And I don't know what to do. I don't know. Do I leave this city that I've lived in for like 30 years? Like that I love. And I as I'm seeing like people exit and with good reason, their livelihoods destroyed. And now like, I'm sick about what's become of Hollywood. And this IATSE strike that I hope is coming is, whether they've mentioned or not, it's about getting the jab. They don't want the jab. These are workers. These are these are the people that, I mean, a lot of it is also how they're treated, that turnaround time, right?
Yep.
Like the director and talent, like, sure, they rap, and there's an extra couple hours of work for everyone else, who's then got to drive home, get a little bit of sleep, and then come back the next day. It's ungodly hours and work conditions. And oh, wait, hey, Adrian Curry. Hey, Adrian, how's it going? Oh my God, I love her. She should be on Friday Night Tights, Gary. Do you follow her on Instagram? I've known Adrian for years. Yeah, and thank you, Adrian, for the advice. I used to hang out at Adrian's place for Christmas Eve. She'd have a little gathering of nerds, and then we would go to Jumbo's Clown Room. So, nice. Adrian, you got to do Friday Night Tights. If I think just
yes, and you can leave. You can't leave. You can still do the independent thing and leave. Everything's remote now anyway. It's cheaper everywhere else. Like you will, I mean, you're gonna save. Like it depends on where you go, but
right,
like where I'm going, everything is 50% off for the rest of my life. Because I lived in California my entire life, so gas is now 50% off. Mortgage 50% off. Food 50% off. It's brilliant. I love it, and I don't have to live here anymore. And it's real easy when they restrict you, mandate you, and destroy your loved one's business. It makes it very easy to leave with a big middle finger on the way out the door. But not everybody's in that position, but like LA, a big city in California, is going to be a bad place to be. It's just going to be a bad place to be in the future for while we live out this dark timeline, which we'll get out of. We'll get out of it. It'll happen. It's not the end of the world. It's just not a great time right now. That's all.
It did kind of make me laugh when I was watching Shang-Chi and San Francisco was depicted as this like peaceful, clean, efficiently run utopia where all the buildings look lovely and there's no homeless people passed out dead on the street with like needles sticking out of their arms. And I just thought, great. The fantasy of movies.
That bus would have killed at least 50 homeless people on its 7-minute ride down Joel Hill and ran over a lot of poop as well.
Yeah, oh man. Like it should have shown that sports car pulling up at the hotel, just running over a turd, like a human turd on the roads.
A hypo sticking out of it. Yeah.
But just Gary, what happened to Mrs. Nerdrotic and her salon is just sickening to me. It's just sickening, and just also seeing like I am a small business owner, but my business has been relatively unaffected because yes, Adrian, I've been watching your stuff on Instagram, love it. She's Adrian is a national treasure.
We should bring her on the stream. Should we bring Adrian on? Just see if she wants to talk to us. I don't know if she wants to come on or what.
Adrian, I have her contact info. I could.
Well, tell you what, like you've got the link, you've got the StreamYard's link. So if you send it to her, if she wants to come on, no problem. If not,
all right. I can. Is it just? Do I just copy the URL here and send it to her? Okay.
That's all you do.
I'll DM her on Twitter, but it's like, but just seeing that, it was heartbreaking to see. Do you remember, Gary, that video that went viral of the woman at Pineapple Hill Saloon?
Yep.
First of all, I went there. It's a great bar. I love it. Love that place. Just like good bar food, great burgers. They've got this whole outdoor area that they made that she clearly spent a lot of money on. They didn't do a cheap setup. It's amazing. That video where she's showing the Hollywood crew that can film. And then it's heartbreaking to see. She represents every small business owner that I know. And I have friends. I have a friend who has a restaurant here in Pasadena, Edwin. It's called Equator by Edwin Mills. Follow that on Instagram. This guy, Teddy, who's Armenian. And if you just know anything, you don't fuck with Armenians. Let me just say that. The Armenians in Glendale are not going to be having any of these mandates. They're not having it. There's a reason that riots didn't come to Glendale.
I lived in Glendale for a couple of years.
Yeah, so so Teddy, who runs this restaurant, he is very vocal, telling people to wake up. I gave him because when all this stuff got locked down, he just turned his alleyway next to his restaurant into a restaurant. Like it's outdoors, we can eat outdoors, right? And I brought him a Guy Fawkes mask, V for Vendetta, just that he has hung up in his restaurant now. And it's there, but what's shocking to me, or maybe it's not shocking, so few people are speaking out about what's happening in Hollywood. Like, why are there so few of us that are even start saying anything? I don't know, just.
From your point of view, Chris, because I've talked about this before, I've always clung to this belief that when it comes to pushing politics in movies and how it, it kind of kills the fun. Eventually they're going to get to the point where the movies have lost so much money that the studios are either going to have a choice. They go bankrupt or they start producing what people actually want, and they cut all of that crap out of their films. Do you think that's a thing that can actually happen, or are they just going to keep, they're going to keep doubling down and they're just never going to give up on this?
Wow, I think that there are, because I'll say this just from people that I know in Hollywood, and I can't necessarily mention names. There are people who I would describe as like secretly Republican. Right? I secretly they hold different political views is all I'll say, right? And they just generally the way you can see who these people who really actually think for themselves. And I think that they just sort of quietly make their films. I just put in private chat someone I know directly who likes to go off and hang out with people and shoot guns and is just not where you might think that they are, right? But sort of quietly make good stuff. I'll say I just talked to I know someone who saw Ghostbusters Afterlife who told me it's awesome. There's nothing woke about it. It's a tribute to the original, but it has nostalgia, but not in that fan job way that J.J. Abrams does. It's genuine and real. I mean, it's amazing that Jason Reitman, Ivan Reitman's son, is making this film. Everything we've seen from it looks like this could be really good.
Yeah, looks okay. Looks okay.
This movie of the year. It'll be the biggest movie of the year.
I think so. From what I've heard, my friend who told me, you might know who this person is.
You reckon they'll outdo Spider-Man?
What's that?
Oh, Spider-Man's coming out this year. It might be.
Why are we talking about anything when Spider-Man's coming out?
Because I mean, for a nostalgia factor, it'll probably make a lot more money.
I reckon Spider-Man is probably gonna inch out Ghostbusters, just because general audiences will be like, "Oh, I gotta get my kids to see this."
I can't. I'll tell you, but I don't know that person. But I think, I mean, Ghostbusters is gonna. I think it'll get more repeat viewings. I don't know. Spider-Man.
You might be right on that, yeah.
If you're gonna like Tobey Maguire coming back, no, nothing's gonna beat that. No way. I would even. I would rather have a Spider-Man 4. I've said that a million times, but of course I'm going to go watch it to see Toby come back. Yeah, I wouldn't be a nerd if I'd have to turn in my nerd card if I didn't go see that movie. I'd have to see it. Plus, it's kind of a Sony movie, so I think this one's still Disney, right, Chris Gore? And then it goes over to Sony. It's still technically a Sony movie, but FTC.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked up. I don't know that Adrian Curry's on. I don't think she's on Twitter anymore. I'll find her. I'll reach out some other way.
She did say in chat she'd rather listen.
Yes.
Okay.
I know who that is, Chris, and I love both of those shows.
Yes, yeah. So that's my friend who saw it, and he told me I can't say anything. So yeah.
Yep. Oh, I was told a bunch of really juicy stuff that could. I mean, one of those things would really do well on my channel, but I can't say anything. And I'm sworn to silence, and I respect my friend's job. So
there's going to be a Holdo mini series, isn't there, Gary?
I hope there is.
That's it.
Oh my God. So Eternals, I gotta say, every time I've gone to the movies, I see that trailer, which gets almost no reaction from any audience. Zero reaction. It's just I'm looking at it, and now we've had how many trailers? They're actually now doing clips on YouTube, little 30-second, you're starting to see a little bit more of the movie because it opens in a month, right? Is it a month? Yeah.
It feels like a complete nothing burger of a film. It has no personality. It has nothing to it. I don't know who the antagonist is. I don't really care about any of the characters. It just feels like bland garbage. It's sludge. It's just sludge. 2 hours of sludge.
Oh, I don't know if you guys got my reference. I was referencing something that happened recently. What's her name from WandaVision's getting her series?
Oh,
yeah. Agatha.
Yeah. Why the fuck is she getting a series? Who the fuck cares about Agatha?
I called this on Twitter, right? And I said, I bet you that the whole premise of it will be she's a really good person, a nice innocent soul, and she's corrupted and pushed down a dark path by an evil white man.
Absolutely.
Guarantee it. That's going to be the premise of the show.
It'll be called.
It was a bunch of witches, but they were probably led by an evil white warlock. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll play into the Salem witch trial thing, which is, I mean, that's what her origin is in the comic books. But she's also an old lady in the comic books, and she's kind of good. She was Franklin Richards' babysitter, and
this day nobody even knows what the fuck the point was in WandaVision of her being there. She managed to get into the barrier with the intentions of stealing Wanda's powers, and thus pretended to be a neighbor. It was bizarre. And then it was Agatha all along, which was one of the most confusing twists I've ever seen.
What I know, it was wow.
But she was like, "Look at these runes. This is how you can prevent a witch from having power." And then Skull Witch is like, "Oh, okay. I guess I'll use them."
And then she says, "I haven't trained to do any of this stuff," and then she does it. She makes them
well,
big.
Of course, because hey, man, she's better than Sorcerer Supreme. Okay, so.
And then Venom, and then Vision comes back and then leaves abruptly because the ladies need to
still no word on him.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there.
So this is White Vision, who's Vision but without the Mind Stone. So Oh fuck!
Yeah.
Oh, that was the other.
It makes me feel tired.
You guys heard about the Pinhead news?
Oh yeah, it's
So I just wait before you say it, right? So I was on a call with Rags when I found out, and I said, "Rags, you know what Hellraiser is?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "You know what Pinhead is?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Dude, all I want to say is it's like it writes this parody." And he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "What do you think I mean?" And he was like, "Are they rebooting it with a black girl?" And I was like, "No, she's not black."
well, that's progress. You see, that's what they're going to do with James Bond. They're talking about all of these new voices and new perspective, and we're just cast.
I want that trailer, Gary, of like a woman walking down the street with her daughter, and the daughter looks up at a poster for the Hellraiser Pinhead movie, but with a girl. She's like, "See, honey, even you can be Pinhead.
You can be Pinhead.
Even you can be an otherworldly, malevolent force from the demon realm, torturing people into oblivion."
A sadomasochist, because that's all that is. I mean, it's just
that's it. Yeah, those Hellraiser movies, they did not screw around. Like,
and
man.
To quote Daniel Craig, why not just have a female Cenobite instead of taking Pinhead, a male character, making them? Why? Just they were female Cenobites. As far as
you know what, MauLer? It's about time. Their time to shine.
It is kind of funny though, right? Hellraiser is not the movie that you'd assume. He's like, we need to bring the women in. You're like, okay.
We have Pinheads making a Pinhead movie. I mean, that's just.
There we go. Remake Event Horizon and make the ship non-binary.
Yeah. As long as
I identify as an old-timey sailing ship, not a spaceship. Oh, Jesus Christ.
It writes itself, man. I feel like, when you have to parody something, it needs to be more extreme than what is true. So it's like, you're making it hard because you keep going to these funny, crazy things.
Oh, we are living in the Onion now. Like, Onion headlines are just reality for us now. It's awful.
It makes the Babylon Bees job really difficult these days. These lazy choices, they're just predictable. They're so predictable now. It's just race swap, gender swap, make this character, make Robin bi or questioning or whatever. Like, no one. Who wants that?
I remember there used to be like a sort of radical feminist blog or Twitter account or whatever, and like they were just set up as a piss take, and like it was all parody. And after a few years, they had to shut down because they just said, we can't keep up with this anymore because what used to be parody for us is now reality for everyone else, and like we can't do our job anymore, so we give up. You won. You've gone beyond parody now.
I think it's over when like I make a joke and then my co-host will be like, "Oh, really?" And I'll be like, "No, that was you can't even tell anymore." Like, you have no idea how to tell the difference because you just believe it. Like, if I told you any made-up thing about a particular recasting or a particular story element in anything now, you'll believe me because it's like impossible to think that there's anything they won't do.
If you go back 10 years and tell somebody, hey, they're going to like do this Star Trek show and they're going to bring Spock back as a fourth actor and he's going to be emotional and sing musicals, be dyslexic and possibly bisexual. I mean, you would just laugh. You would laugh. And that's our reality.
Similarly, if someone just finished T2, they were watching it, let's say, in the year 2000. And you're like, now how about a sequel where we open with John Connor getting splattered to death by a shotgun? You're like, nice, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Could you imagine? You're like, yeah, I know, right?
How about a sequel where they prevent Skynet from rising to prominence, but now there's like, what the fuck was
Legion.
it? Legion or something.
Legion.
Like,
most generic fucking name for a Skynet replacement.
It just makes me think of the Red Dwarf episode where they meet Legion. And they try to fucking like knock him out with the plot from Revenge of the Surfboard and Killer Bikini Vampire Girls, and he just totally like anticipates everything they're gonna do. Oh, Jesus.
As for that comment, Black Widow is pretty funny. There are several parts that are very funny. When she got blown up for the 11th time, I was just like, oh, it's hard to keep laughing.
Can I also make a suggestion, since we're talking about parodies and stuff? There is a trailer for like a new Resident Evil show. Or is it a movie or a show? I can never remember what the fuck it is.
I never know these days either, dude.
There's two different things going on at the moment with Resident Evil, but this is like Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. And I don't know if like Chris or Gary, if you've ever experienced the games or the movies or anything like that. If you have any knowledge of it.
I think everyone's seen the first Resident Evil, right, movie from Paul W.S. Anderson.
Because of Mila Jovovich.
There we go. Well, they're rebooting it, and I think they're going to make it closer to the games, like, you know, for the fans. So
frustrating to play, like the first game, which was really frustrating to play.
I hope the characters have got tank controls in this, like they have to slowly spin around when an enemy's attacking them. Whoa, sorry, I just kind of jumped in there. Let me go back. I'll allow you guys to experience the joy that is Resident Evil. And if you want me to pause it, I will, because I'll probably get copyrighted otherwise.
All right, make sure to talk a lot, guys.
Yeah, talk throughout this.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's liquor. Oh god.
CGI doesn't look fantastic.
Wait, can you pause? Just a quick comment. It's this weird trend now with trailers where they show you a trailer for the trailer you're about to see. So the first 3 to 5 seconds of the trailer is a trailer for the trailer you're about to watch, which is totally, to me, a reaction of like people who watch TikTok constantly. So I feel like it's an appeal to the TikTok chat. If you don't feel like watching the whole trailer, just watch the first 5 seconds of this.
What Fringy told me, and I don't know if this is 100% true, but you know how ads you can skip give you 5 seconds?
Yeah.
So he was saying that the reason why this is happening is because these are the videos that get dragged into ads, and so they have to make that first 5 as appealing as possible, so that when you're hovering over the skip button, you go, ooh, maybe I won't skip.
Oh, that's logical.
YouTube is the last bastion for ads, by the way.
It's insane that we gave into so many of these like adpocalypse stuff when YouTube is probably able to sell as much ad space as they want to whoever they want.
I just love it now when I put a video up and it's like, do you want to have skippable or non-skippable ads? And whatever you choose, it'll just be like, okay, non-skippable it is then. And we're going to
do one better. You upload like a fucking 30-minute video, and it's like, I'll automatically put ads in for you. And you're like, okay. And then you check it, and it's like 17 in the first half. You're like, what are you doing? What is this? And you're like, oh no, the bot figured it out. I'm sure it's for the best.
Let's see what we got here.
Discover the origin of evil.
Ooh.
Why are you back here, Claire? Your conspiracies weren't true when we were kids. They're not true now.
No.
Wait, what the fuck? Is that meant to be Claire Redfield?
Was that Chris Redfield too, or was that someone else? Because damn.
How's that Claire? What the fuck? She looks about 40 years old.
I mean, I know her. She was in the last Pirates of the Caribbean film.
Oh, really? What?
Did anyone see that?
I didn't. I worked on the one. Well, I worked on the Blu-ray of the one before that.
It's that's true. The intro for RE1 looks like Pro in comparison.
Okay.
Let's see.
When we were kids, they're not true now.
We need
who's that?
Umbrella.
Who, the guy?
Oh, that umbrella guy. Oh, this is the umbrella. No, who is the guy? Who's the guy? I recognize him from some. God damn it! What?
Not true now.
Who is he? That guy.
CW show or something like that.
Probably.
Right, Chad?
He's got the look of a CW actor about him.
Yeah, there's some feelings and hallways going on there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
he's probably called
a few tears as well.
Oh god, feelings in hallways. That's just Batwoman. Just reminds me. Of course, it's CW stuff, but it's just funny. We've been watching more of that lately. It's top notch as always.
Even Amel's cousin. That's right. It's Green Arrow's cousin.
We need to expose
Thanks, chat.
Umbrella.
Watch this.
I'm afraid, Claire. I'm afraid of what they're gonna do to this town.
Okay.
Umbrella, they have an incident.
Yeah. Well, you've got the whole like umbrella conspiracy thing, so fair enough.
Umbrella bad, yeah.
If you know what I mean. People are getting sick.
What the fuck was that? Like putting the hand through the window there. It was like. Blah, blah, blah.
Don't remind me of fucking Malignant, dude.
Yeah, flashbacks to fucking Malignant.
Oh no!
That's straight out of RE2, so I like that. Yeah, there you go.
Dog. Wait, so what's that? Sorry, the actor there. That wasn't Donald Logue, was it?
No, that's go back. I'm pretty sure that is the guy who was in Gotham, right?
Donald Logue?
Donald Logue. Yeah.
I never know his name. Yes.
He's got a strange name.
He's got a very like late 90s Japanese Resident Evil haircut. You know, that's just how they imagine people in America looked
like
at that time.
He got to start like well, he was doing comedy, but he was doing MTV skits back in the day, and that's what gave him his start.
Oh no, music.
No, this is where we get into trouble.
They've been have you noticed with the editing in this, they've been playing a lot of they do it a lot in trailers in general. I'm just noticing with this one a lot. There'll be a line and they'll only show you the last word from the actual characters saying the line. It's likely they weren't saying the line at all. It's just all the way that they were there. It's just to try and help you feel some level of flow. Yeah, but the amount of, because there's probably lines they record for the trailer as well as just they don't fit if you showed the actual visual.
You mean like in No Time to Die when Rami Malek's character for no reason at all goes, James Bond, License to Kill.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, we haven't even. He sucked, by the way. No, I like Rami Malek, but man, his presence on that fucking movie was embarrassing. He was a clown.
Yeah. But I still don't understand his overall plan. He just wanted to
nobody does.
His
they never really explained who these people were that he wanted dead. It was just like, this is just bad people, I guess.
They didn't even show it, right? Like, so Mr. White killed his parents or was responsible for killing his parents. Show this. This is something you need to show, at least in a blinky flashback or something.
Well, yeah, they all died in like a family party. Didn't he say his mum was like dying in front of him or whatever?
Yeah. And then he got all his vengeance. So by the end of the movie, his vengeance is done. He wins, and then he continues, and they don't really give you a good reason other than I'm back.
Someone pointed out, like in my previous live stream, where it's like there's a real trend of like villains with fucked up faces who've got some kind of personal grudge against Bond, and like that's just all these movies are.
I will excuse it if it leads to something interesting character wise. I really liked was it Renard in World Is Not Enough? He couldn't feel pain, and I think they gave him some kind of like because he got shot in the head or whatever. I was like, okay, that's kind of all right. I'm like, let's see how that goes. This one was he got fucked up by the poison. You're like, okay.
See, I like Silva from Skyfall. Again, like his face was all fucked up.
I wanted to like that. I didn't understand how it worked. It's like I took the cyanide and it took half of my face away or something. It was like, huh?
Well, with cyanide, is it not implanted in your teeth a lot of the time? And so you bite into it, and so it's.
I thought he took it though, as in because what you do is you swallow it, right?
No, you have to like cyanide comes in like glass.
How do you know that?
Yeah, no.
Something. So you have to bite into it and crunch it.
You bite and then swallow. That's what I'm saying.
I know.
Yeah, and so I guess in his case, like he bit into it, it kind of melted one side of his face, and just didn't quite get the job done.
Is that how that works? I haven't looked into it, but I've never known cyanide because like obviously I hear bits and bobs about cyanide. I've never known that if you bite it and don't swallow it, it'll melt your face.
I don't know.
It's been a while.
I know that's
cyanide in somebody's drink. I can't quite remember.
I love the idea of an agent that worked for M that was screwed over by her and even took his suicide pill and it didn't work. Like that. That's great. There's a lot of it. I just got confused by it and I thought that they only did it for the gimmick of being like, look at his face. How fucking ugly is he and scary. Oh.
It's not like Javier Bardem is a beautiful man without that fucked upness. He's kind of freakish, like even when you look at him normally.
But yeah, I don't know. I can appreciate an excuse or whatever, but as soon as I saw the trailer for No Time to Die, and he's like, he's got the mask and half of it's all fucked in his chin or whatever, I was like, are we doing another weird thing, I guess, because we have to?
Yeah.
Fine. Remember, Blofeld's base got blown up by Bond, and then the next time we see him, we just got the big Blofeld scar. And it's like, yeah, okay, I guess, fine. Like,
it looked nowhere near as bad as that Inspector, and like he still had his eyeball in that. Like he very clearly like still had a working eye, and now it's like it's just missing, so they could have that weird prosthetic eye thing going on.
I guess we were supposed to think it was a glass eye. I don't know. In the in No Time to Die.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That was fucking stupid, by the way, that he had this like super high tech eye his whole time in the prison and nobody noticed or cared. How?
Well, yeah, you'd have to fire your entire prison staff because they check everything. They really do.
No fucking way he gets away with that. Yeah.
So, they were saying here cyanide stops cell respiration, so it probably kill off the face and jaw tissue. So it wouldn't be like an instantaneous thing, but it's like, you know, it would bring about like gangrene in your face, basically, and that's why his face was so fucked up.
Maybe it makes sense because I don't know enough about cyanide, but I always found it strange. I didn't understand how that made sense, but it was a cool idea for a villain because he was an X-00, right?
Yeah, I like that idea. Like
No,
I always
but
felt like
I've never done that before.
Like,
Obviously, GoldenEye was an X-00 as well.
Yeah, well, it's like people were suggesting they almost should have had Pierce Brosnan play that role. Like, how cool would that have been? Like, an ex-Bond.
It would have been really cool, but at the same time, would that not create a lot more confusion? Yeah, because
there would have been a lot of questions. Yeah,
not to mention turning Brosnan's Bond into a villain. Like, I don't know, I'd like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. But I mean, it causes a lot of problems. Kind of like killing James Bond causes a lot of problems.
Yeah. Let's see what we got here.
Shall we go?
That's your Leon Kennedy right there, who's looking distinctly ethnic now. Fair enough. I'm sure he was a redhead in the original game. Like, I'm pretty sure he had like chestnut hair.
The fuck is this track?
Song?
Why?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like they're doing Resident Evil 1 and 2 simultaneously in this movie. I don't get it.
I recognize the song. I know the song. I just mean, like, why is it here? You know?
I don't know.
I think the next line is "What's going on?" Right?
Yeah.
What were Umbrella doing here?
This is where they're experimenting on him.
Oh, hey, Umbrella Academy.
Split up.
He was in
Sure, I mean, like, tonally, I feel like this is off, but they're probably going to make the song go dark in a sec. That's been another trend in Hollywood, taking like classical known songs and then remixing them to have like a spooky version, just to make
or
it
the juxtaposition of having that song kind of playing over the horror. It might.
There's the mansion. Looks really small now for some reason.
Yeah. And I say, come on, do it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is all wrong. I'm sorry. This ain't working for me.
The song is terrible. Like, clearly these are like classic Resident Evil moments, like that bit where you come around the corner and you find the zombie feasting on a dead corpse. Like, that's straight out of the first game. Like, that's one of those iconic scenes. So I can get what they're going for here, but it just looks cheap as fuck. I mean, look at this.
I'm putting that song on it. What are you doing?
I know I'm going to make the game fans mad, but where's Mila Jovovich?
Well, when we were watching through recently, man, she gets naked all the time in those movies. I completely forgot.
There's nothing to see though. Like, you know, I feel like I've got bigger breasts than Mila Jovovich, and so like when you do actually get to see her in the shower or whatever, it's like,
wow,
I'm not missing much.
All boobs are valid for drinking.
Hey, I'll take that. That's fine.
There's Itchy Tasty though. That's again another thing from the game where like you get to see the diary entries of a guy who's gradually succumbing to zombieism, and that's like his final diary entry.
Oh, Itchy Tasty.
Yeah, because like the language gradually dissolves as his mind sort of falls apart, and that's like the final entry. It's quite cool actually. What is this thing?
It's a baby demon.
Give us a kiss.
I'm not sure. So, is this a TV show or a movie?
I don't know.
Thinking about
hold on, let me look it up. I've got to find.
There's a lot of things that'll have to happen if it's a movie, like fast, you know.
Right, isn't it? Welcome to Raccoon City.
It's Joe Biden.
You know the thing.
If it's a series, I picture the finale of episode 1 is getting into the house, you know.
Okay, so it's a film.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, Mila Jovovich from Fifth Element was the only reason I watched this movie.
That's not even this movie.
Yeah.
We're gonna take Umbrella down.
God,
that was a bit bad.
Awful.
Yeah. Oh,
there we go.
Okay, that was all necessary.
In movie theaters the day after Ghostbusters comes out. The day Ghostbusters comes out.
Hey, man, they can take on Ghostbusters.
This feels like the kind of movie that should come out in January.
Yeah, on cable. I mean, not streaming, cable. Like fucking whatever, FX or whatever.
Is that Thanksgiving weekend when it's coming out?
It was coming out, but I think it because Top Gun and the Mission Impossible moved. I think it moved up a week.
Mila's 46 now. God, everybody's old.
19.
Yeah, but this she doesn't look 46. And didn't we see her in like The Three Musketeers? And we're like, still got it.
Well, when was that movie made though?
I don't know.
The Three I can't believe that was supposed to be a franchise. So
I saw it like 2 months ago, and so for me, it was made 2 months ago.
Oh yeah, it was 2011.
Oh fuck! Shit.
Hey.
Okay, I take back my comments then. Fuck.
Let's go.
I thought it was newer than that.
Well, if you saw the trailer for Monster Hunter, she still looks like Mila Jovovich, you know.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, she's statuesque, isn't she? She's like, isn't she like bordering on 6 feet when she's a big
hot
lass?
as fuck. I agree.
Yeah.
Hot as fuck. And it like 40, like I'm 52. Give me a woman, some little kid.
It's just anyone.
Full grown woman.
Yeah.
I got one, so I'm good.
Eastern European, man, like they've got better genes somehow. They're awesome.
All that suffering and darkness.
Yeah, give us like another 10 years, we'll be there. Like, we'll have plenty of suffering in store.
Yeah, I'm simping a little bit for Mila. I got no problem doing that.
Nah, she's good. Mila, if you're watching this, you're welcome to come on.
Yeah, we'll talk to you about Resident Evil. It was a great career. Unironically, a fantastic career choice.
Hot Toys needs to make a 1/6 scale Lilu. And Corbin Dallas.
Have they never done anything like that? Is there no Lilu?
Nope, there's customs
Lilu
out
action
there.
Figures.
Not very good customs, but
See, I talked about The Fifth Element, and I absolutely loved it as a movie. I just think it's great. It's so different from your standard Hollywood action sci-fi film. Like the soundtrack, the costumes, the set design, everything is just so vibrant and weird and different. I love it.
Yep.
You know?
Totally agree. I was obsessed with that movie when it came out. It was just fun. The soundtrack was collectible for a while because you couldn't find it. There was a couple of books out. There was like they made a game, and there was a book on a game, and then there was a French book, the art. It was like the art or the making of Fifth Element. Yet it cost $200 on eBay back in the 90s to get it. There wasn't much. Like for those of us who like to collect shit, there wasn't much. They had some cars, some of the cars they made. They were going to do a full action figure line. I forgot who was going to do it, but they ditched it.
Yeah.
Corbin Dallas Multipass.
Yeah. I still use the Lilu laugh from that movie.
Yes.
It's a great thing to put into reviews.
Hey, I stole the message for a video. Hope you don't mind.
Oh, no, I saw that actually. That's fine, man. Go for it. That's Hollywood to a T. May I tackle a few more super chats just because I know they've kind of built up while we've been doing this. Oh yeah, so yeah, the last one was from Rob H. Says, "Hail Drinker and Guests, have you seen that god awful Resident Evil trailer? I didn't have high hopes, but going in, but man, it looked awful. Just zero effort. Ellie's a tangerine, by the way. Yeah, I mean, I think you've got our thoughts on it there. It looks pretty cheap." Nikki D says, "G'day, gents. Can you guys explain why dialogue is written so poorly in mainstream film and television today? Shows like Loki felt like it was written by a 6th grade fangirl with no real life experience." I mean, Chris, you should probably be pretty well positioned to answer this. I mean, everyone else jump in as well, by all means.
What was it? Sorry, I was answering an email. What was the question?
Okay, so can you guys explain why dialogue is written so poorly in mainstream film and television today? Shows like Loki felt like it was written by a 6th grade fangirl with no life experience. Oh
yes, that's exactly right. It's a friend of mine. A friend of mine who recently pitched to I don't know how, anyways, just pitched to a place. Basically, just said, look, and this is an experienced writer. Just said, if you were anything other than a white dude, we could hire you right now. And I think they're just hiring people that haven't had the experience, So I think they're hiring for the wrong reasons. I hate to say. I mean, it's obvious to us, right? But it's you've got writer rooms with vastly different, levels of experience now, and not people that are failing in other places, which is not a bad thing. I mean, make a couple indie movies, get more scripts under your belt. But really, I think it just comes down to that. Also, it's like, I agree. It's like, it's frustrating for me because I see friends of mine who have worked for years just being told the door is closed. You're not the type we're looking for, and everything, even
racist. It's racist.
Yes, it's like the language is even coded about how they talk about it, and it's like, So what? I mean, this is like back like in the 50s. I mean, I almost feel like it to my buddy, like, why don't you just hire someone to pretend to, hawk your script?
Yeah.
I the way I summed it up as like, and I'm going to do a video about this, but it's like movies today are made for children, and they're made by children or people with the minds of children.
Infants.
That's what you get. Characters are, emotionally driven. They just say whatever's in their head at any moment. They babble absolute garbage. There's no self-confidence to them. There's no life experience with them. There's no, like, particularly with the male characters, there's no sense of masculinity or like stoicism or anything like that. And yeah, it feels like it was written by children nowadays when it comes to dialogue.
And that lack of experience, it's important. Remember when writers used to like go, climb Mount Everest and, hike, around the world and just actually travel and do stuff instead of just graduating from college and going out. And like, yeah, it's very difficult for a man to authentically write a woman, but if you're a talented writer, you can do it. It's the same the other way around. There's a lot of women who just don't know how to write men, especially working for Star Trek, although you could argue they don't know how to write. But like, things like being in a fight. Like if you've ever been in a fight, you can use that for your experience and when you're writing a fight, because what actually happens in a fight. You're not just gonna like and yeah, I know the Bond should have died 1,000 times. Like the first time you get your head cracked on a toilet bowl, you're freaking dead. You're dead. But there's certain things. Robert Meyer Burnett uses the word verisimilitude, which is just like what we're buying into, what's real, like what makes this real. And that's been lost. And that's lost because there is no experience.
I think that summed it up, really. They're just all dipshits.
Basically.
Maybe it's talking about us.
Yeah, well, who knows? I'm going to take the charitable view on that one.
I noticed that especially in like, Gary, you're a dad, right? When you see someone in a movie that has kids and you can tell that the director, the filmmaker, the writer, whatever, just has no life experience about what it's really like to have children. And you look like, oh, I'm thinking that character would never do that. And that's why I think unfortunately, the best writers just are people who've lived some life. You mentioned it, right? Like, if you've been in a fight, and I have been in a few, like, it's, first of all, they're over very quickly for the most part, at least the ones I've been in. And, that life experience, it means something. It matters, and also exposure to all types of literature and movies, and not just the mainstream ones. And I think that we're living in a time where we're never going to see a Star Wars movie that wasn't influenced by other Star Wars movies, right? Like, everything is just sort of a hand job to the last thing, right? Like, it's just
Oh, certainly right now, yeah.
Yeah, it's so then it's like it's just a distillation of the last thing, So what I'm saying is that the people writing these things, their only point of reference is the last few movies in that franchise,
Yeah.
Well,
yes. And not the wealth of, we were just talking about The Fifth Element. I like that movie because it was so different. Because like most of the sci-fi we got, especially in the 90s, and we still get now, is post-apocalyptic. It's drab because of budget constraints, or they're always fighting some hive mind alien. Like, this thing had texture. It was rich. It had this crazy megalopolis city in it, and it was just cool. And people were like, yeah, it was a little Blade Runner in there, a little, just in the traffic and stuff in the city.
Yeah.
To sort of wind back a little to the dialogue thing, and so like, when you have a lot of life experience and talk to a lot of people, you'll discover a lot if you start to really think about what they've said, and then you just look back on the conversation and what you both concluded on. You'll notice not everybody, and this includes us, and it's not in any way a dishonest thing, not many people say what they mean. They say stuff to direct you, because as far as they have a bunch of preloaded words and knowledge on their end, they know exactly what they mean. The other person listening may not know. And this is like a huge tool with writing. And it always bugs me, right? And this is just a classic example. You have two characters talking about something in a scene, and you're both, this is a new scene, which is like, who are these two people, and what do they mean to each other? And it's like, clearly they care about each other. One of them is older, and then one of them goes, hey, look, you're my son, okay? We've known each other for this long. Yeah. You work here. I work there. I know I forget your birthday every year. And you're just sitting there like, for fuck's sake. Like, you're just delivering it. Nobody speaks like this. And I was saying, like, it to me, it's just like when you've spoken to so little people, or just people within your own bubbles, they have like characters being explicit. You couldn't possibly miss what they mean. And then just the development's usually really simplistic, and just a lot of modern writing frustrates the hell out of me, because I don't get to think. I just like listen for a few seconds. I'm like, right, your character is this. Yeah, I got it. And that's like irrelevant of, I just call that incompetence, right? Just like standard incompetence. You could have anybody across the spectrum making those kinds of mistakes. It's just that I love great dialogue. I'm a big fan. For the longest time, I'd cite like Tarantino's dialogue is top tier. Joss Whedon's dialogue, I fucking love it. Edgar Wright's. I love these people's dialogue. Some of the greatest movies of all time still only have fine dialogue. Just stuff where I'm like, yeah, that was pretty good. But man, it's been dire recently. Like, listening to characters talk the fucking...
it grates on you, doesn't it? Because this is the thing. Like, you're always sitting there thinking, no, that's not what you should be saying. Like, I would have said this in this situation. This would have been so much cooler or more interesting or whatever. And they never quite make it. And I always feel like certain characters are just artificially nerfed, just because the writers need to get a certain point across, so they need a certain character to come out on top. And instead of having two people who are smart or interesting or whatever, like going at it and sparring, they have one character who's just ridiculously stupid, so the other one can emerge superior. And it's
Star
just
Trek.
Well, anything really. And that kind of thing just frustrates me. When one character makes a point, and because the writers don't want to carry it on too long, because they don't want to take a conversation to its logical conclusion, they just have the other character clam up and go, oh okay, I'm done. I'm beat. That's it. I've got nothing I can say in this conversation. And that's it. It's so shit. It's so limited in their thinking.
And man, it's an enormous scope of what you can do with it. A really fun comparison that I made with Fringy recently was... you look at Black Widow, right? Her not caring about anyone in the prison, that was incompetence. If someone did it on purpose, where a character does something and another character barely reacts to it, like someone could get killed, and you see like 5 people go, and a sixth person just doesn't really move because they've seen it before. So it's like, oh, that tells you a lot about them, that they're used to this, or something like that. Squid Game I'm not going to spoil anything, but I fully recommend it. There's a reason why everyone's recommending that show, by the way. You should all check it out. There's a point in the show where a character knows something, and he could tell a bunch of people, but he thinks about it for a while, and then we see the scene play out, and we don't even know why necessarily he wouldn't or would say this to people. But once the scope gets clear, it becomes like a major part of understanding who he is and what he's going to do going forward. And just, I guess what I'm saying is not only what they say, but what they don't say. These are things that are extremely important, and they tell you everything, and they move the story along. I was going to say, Drinker, I don't know if we've talked about it, but I watched Train to Busan now as a result of getting recommended a billion times.
Yay, finally.
Also, someone said Squid Game's overhyped. That's probably true, because that thing has been hyped to Mount Everest, so nothing's going to be able to maintain that level when it's brand new, but I still recommend it. Train to Busan, though, lots of really strong dialogue in that film. And examples... Sorry, I'm almost done. Examples of when the zombie breakout first happens. If you remember, there's the train car that's filled with the school kids, the high school kids. Yeah. And most of them, when they see a woman getting eaten by a zombie, scream and shock. I think the girl that's with him is just stunned. She's just staring at it. And one of the main characters, we see him immediately get up, grab a bat, and start trying to get them off. It's just like, what does that say about him compared to everyone else?
Yep.
And I miss that level of storytelling where, because Batwoman does this, right? Unless it's said openly and explicitly, they don't know how else to characterize someone. And then they have them not give a shit about people dying, not give a shit about all the ethical circumstances they get involved in, and then it characterizes them as villains by accident because they didn't even realize, they didn't even know.
Because of, a bad moral compass, lazy writing. I think what Chris brought up, way too many cooks in the kitchen with a lot of this stuff now. I mean, like even the Bond script, four people, there was 3 or 4 people worked on the story, and then 4 people worked on the script. In Star Trek Discovery, it's ridiculous. It's like this. It's I think there's Red Letter Media counted the producers for the show. There was 21 producers for the show. There's 5 to 6 writers for each 1-hour episode. It's insane. So I don't know how you keep track. It's probably impossible, especially when you don't have talent. So. It's a big problem, and I think because it's just been, the talent has been watered down in Hollywood. There's just too much with the streaming services and all this crazy investor Wall Street money that's flowing through the town right now. So they can just put out crap. And we've talked about this before. This should be the Renaissance where we're trying to get new content. They should be taking a bunch of chances right now, but they're not.
We almost had that timeline. We were almost there. If you remember, Breaking Bad was where the flashpoint was.
If you go back 10 years, we had a golden age of TV where like budgets were enormous. You were bringing in actors from movies essentially, and the writing was top notch. And then around 5, 6, 7 years ago, it just fell apart.
Yeah,
and there's I don't know if anyone's brought this up, but Foundation, from the few people I know who've seen it, says that every episode looks like $100 million Hollywood blockbuster, and no one's talking about it. It's probably because nobody has Apple TV, even though it's like what, $5 a month.
Apple's stupid because they're too proprietary, and that's been their problem, and it'll be their problem. Yeah, nobody is talking about it. I've had a couple of emails complaining about it. They hate it, but they said it looks pretty.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. It looks pretty, but what the hell is it? So yeah, I know.
I was going to say as well, Gary, I know that you're pretty short on time.
Sorry, this has been great.
No, honestly, man, I appreciate you coming in like this. Like we mentioned before, like Az wasn't able to join us tonight, and you being the hero that you are, you stepped up at the last minute to join us for a bit, and I appreciate you coming, man. It's been great to have you on.
Hey, thanks for having me on, and well wishes to our friend Az out there. We love you, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before you go, was it? I guess because I don't know if we discussed it or not. Just the ending of the new Bond and what
Oh, no.
Should we just say it? Like, we just spoil it, the shit out of it.
I'm assuming people know. It's got to be spreading by now.
For this, but yeah, it's dumb. I think it's dumb, but yeah, James Bond. We talked about it earlier. James Bond dies. He dies. Yeah. He commits suicide.
He gets blown up, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gives up. And to be fair, it looks like he could have survived had he given a shit.
Yeah, especially when they panned out and the bombs came down, you're like, wait a minute, because I thought they were going to blow up the entire island.
I thought it was going to be a nuke. I thought they were going to nuke the thing.
Yeah. Oh, it was just at the base. He could have gone up the hill, and maybe died there. He was pretty shot up, but he gave up because he couldn't touch his daughter, and his girlfriend anymore because Rami Malek put some of the nanobots on him, and they are programmed specifically for that DNA. So if he touches either of them, they'll die. Now, there are you can make that a plot point for him to continue his work and be a little bitter about it. There's a million things you can do. The one thing I wouldn't do is have Bond commit suicide.
Yeah, like he could Skype call them if he really wanted to spend time with them. Or he could just activate his EMP watch, which is specifically designed to destroy anything with an electronic circuit, including nanomachines.
That was a big...
shitty, awkward line from Q where he's like, the nanobots are eternal. You're like, what do you mean? How? Like, what?
Yeah, do you really think them being inside your body is going to stop an EMP?
I don't get it, dude. They just wanted to make it so that, there's a good reason. They also shot him like 5 times and then dropped a missile on his feet. So for anybody being like, well, was it one of those things that they cut away? It's like, no, they killed him. They were very explicit in killing him. I guess what we're in for now is a new Bond, but
it opens the door for...
It's literally just going to be a whole new guy, isn't it?
Could be a girl, could be anything. Jane Bond.
Horse. Like, let's just go nuts. I want a manatee playing Bond.
But yeah, I was curious. What do you guys think about how the general Bond fans will take this?
Not well. I think general Bond. I think hardcore Bond fans are not going to like Bond dying. Period. Like me. That's not anything I wanted to see. Just like I didn't want to know the Doctor's origin. It's not anything I ever wanted to know. The film is rating well. People are liking it. It's making money. But the hardcore Bond fans I've seen on Twitter, which is like 3. Okay, so it's not a very scientific poll. Hate it. So, I don't know. What did you think, MauLer?
I thought it was shit, and I definitely had a moment of just like, what the hell? Why did I just watch a scene where Bond was killed? That's not.
And Drinker?
Yeah, fuck that. Fuck that nonsense. Like, that's just destroying a franchise, essentially, and you've left it with nowhere to go. Now the only option is to just give us a whole new character with a whole new history, just taking on the name of Bond. Why the fuck would I care about this guy? It's just a different person altogether. Don't give a shit.
It's going to be just like that Resident Evil trailer you just saw. That's going to be the next Bond film. It'll be a shadow of a shadow of a shadow. But they just dispatched Ian Fleming's James Bond forever. The producers have made no secret. I'm going to put it in my video, and I said it in my last video. The producer, Barbara Broccoli, said the fans will come around. That we can't do that Bond anymore. That Bond is gone, and the fans will come kicking and screaming. But we'll get them there. I mean, I'm like, wow, that's arrogant as F to think that everything that made James Bond you can just take away and still think you're going to have James Bond. James Bond is surrounded by bikini-clad women. He is a drinker. He kills people, and he has fun doing it. He loves his job, but not Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig does not love his job.
No,
and I think that shines through in his movies, honestly. As Bond, we're talking about it being a melodrama or being miserable. Like, these movies, if anything, it's the end of the Craig era. It's like, in some ways, maybe that's a great thing. Some people in chat said, like, isn't it a send-off? Isn't his death just going to be compacted about him? But that was something I was talking to Az about, actually, was it feels really odd to have Bond's death be Daniel Craig's. You know what I mean? Where everyone else was passing the baton, and he's like, I'm the one that dies. And you're like, okay.
Selfish.
Well, everything about this Bond was meant to be like, it's all about me. You know, I am now the origin story for Bond. I am the complete, like, beginning to end of the 007 Bond character. You know, you get to see me in my first mission and my last mission where I die. And then what the fuck does that mean for all the other guys who played the character? Or does that not exist in this continuity anymore? I just don't know.
And no, it really messes with that. We like I said earlier, we had this headcanon basically that all the Bond stuff existed. That was, you know, maybe not Never Say Never Again, but you can include it if you want. I doubt, you know, Peter Sellers, you know, Casino Royale, but everything else, yeah, it counted. And they refer back to it sometimes, and they refer back to a lot of stuff. There's a lot of little Bond Easter eggs in all over this movie, but including some, I think, musical callbacks. But like that was, it doesn't. Daniel Craig is a different. It's a different Bond. It's you know, and I like I said before, I was okay with Bond Begins and kind of redoing that. And Casino Royale was freaking spectacular. It was a great movie, but everything after that was just drab. And I don't care about mommy issues or freaking daddy issues or brother issues or freaking kids. I don't want Bond to have a kid. You kidding me? I mean, I'm sure he has kids all over the place, but he ain't paying attention to them, like, because he loves his job and he knows, you know, like I could die any day, but I don't want him to die. I just want him to know he can die, but I don't want that character to die. And I would recommend, if you don't want to, I would say at least walk out before the end. Don't watch Bond die, because if you do, you can't erase that out of your head. It's there forever. It's like watching Luke die. It's like watching him, you know, drink the booby milk. It's like watching Han Solo die. It's almost as needless as the Han Solo death.
But at least it was handled better. At least there were, you know, I mean, the Han Solo death might be the worst in movie history of an iconic character. But I actually, you know, maybe this will be my last appearance on the Critical Dream. I didn't hate the ending only because we've never seen that in a Bond film. And I know that there's certain boxes that have to be checked off for a Bond film. Those are fun boxes. Like, you know, Bond gets laid, Bond gets a cool device, Bond has a cool car, Bond kills some villain, you know, and we'd never seen that happen in a Bond film. I knew that this was Daniel Craig's last Bond film. So if you were ever going to see Bond die, now we've seen that. I hope I never see it again. But I think the big question is, will the next James Bond be bisexual? I think that's the question.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes.
It will be a strong bisexual woman of color. But
oh my God.
Just to go back to your point there, Chris, like, if I was to just take these movies as being isolated from everything else, like pretend that none of the other Bond films had ever existed and they were literally just this Daniel Craig run, in which case I'd be okay with it. You know, that's like a complete character arc for him, and you know, he dies at the end of it to save the people that he loves. Okay, fine, but like it's not just an isolated storyline; it's part of a much larger franchise. That's the problem I have with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like, how do they, like, I don't know. My favorite is still the Sean Connery Bonds. You watch those, and I mean, they're so, I mean, the women are sexy. Also, Roger Moore, probably Moonraker being among my personal favorites. But I don't know. I kind of think of each of them almost like a run when you've got like an illustrator-writer combo on a comic book, you know, and they do like say the first 100 issues of Fantastic Four, like Kirby Lee, right? Like I look on it as that, as like, okay, that's one continuum, and there's another continuum with this different incarnation of that character. So I'm okay with it because I knew that this was Daniel Craig's last one. But I just hope that they just stick to keep Bond manly. I mean, this is like this weird, you were talking earlier about Star Trek and some of these shows. Like, I haven't even, other than the first 4 episodes of Discovery, I haven't watched Star Trek because I see how miserable my friends are, like Robert Meyer Burnett talking about it. And he's heartbroken over how bad Star Trek is today. And Gary, I watch your videos on Star Trek, and I feel like there's not this, it's not for me. It's like the feminization of all of this stuff. And it's like, is this what it is today? And I wonder to myself, like, here's what I wonder. Are they trying to appeal to a female audience? Because I don't think that works. And yes. I think this next incarnation, this whatever next phase of Marvel, which is very feminized, I think is going to be garbage. And they're underestimating the fact that maleness and masculinity is appealing to women. That's why I think there are so many female Marvel fans. I mean, I was joked about it before, but that first Marvel movie is the first Avengers movie is like a Chippendales show, right? And the fact that there's a cliche of every male Marvel character must take their shirt off, right, and show it. I think they underestimate that, and I can't think of any time in movie history where someone's taken a franchise that was for women and tried to make it appeal to men, right? Like let's do Barbie for guys, I guess. I mean, well, I guess Sideshow collectible 1/6 scale figures could be something like that. But what I'm saying is, you don't see that, and I think they underestimate that the reason that there are female fans of this is there are masculine men, right? Like, look what happened to exactly. Look what that thing that came out from Playboy recently. Holy, I mean, it's utterly ridiculous.
Well, that's we're in clown world right now. We're in a very, very strange, bizarre timeline. I blame CERN actually, but no, it's time's up. This whole Me Too time's up thing was turned into yes, they want to make Hollywood female centric. It's I've done way too much research on the whole thing. It was a big power grab that started as a natural thing because women were, obviously, you guys know, were abused in Hollywood for a long, long time. The casting couch has not gone away. It's still there. That stuff is still going on and always will go on as long as people are involved. But it was a drive to make things female centric, and it was financially motivated. They got some really bad data that stated the obvious, that basically half the population of Earth is female, and they said, hey, half our moviegoers are female. We need to direct more things towards them, not realizing that they went. And a lot of this goes back from data from Titanic, because that was shocking to a lot of people in Hollywood. The data from Titanic, which was 50-50 male, female, but it skewed a little female. And it was the biggest movie in the world for a long, long time, stayed in theaters for a long, long time. And then, the Twilight thing came out, Harry Potter. Twilight did ruin everything at Comic-Con, by the way, but it started, that started the whole, children's book thing. Which really has dumbed down writing. And I'm not saying that about Harry Potter, but I would say that about Twilight. I didn't read the books, but I did sit through all the movies because I'm a good husband. And that started the whole fan fiction movement. And yeah, it's a redirection towards an audience that doesn't exist. They really direct a lot towards Twitter, which is not a very good representation. Well, no, it's not a good representation at all, of the world or of this country.
It's interesting that you mentioned Titanic there, like being directed by James Cameron. I think he's one of the few directors I would trust to present you with, strong, well-developed female characters, but also like male characters that don't have to play second fiddle to them. And I think perhaps that's one of the reasons that film was so successful, is that he got a good balance there.
Absolutely.
And he was always, throughout his movie making career, maybe not so much with Avatar because that's kind of shit, but like the Terminator movies and stuff, he could write great female characters, but also great male characters to balance them out. And so that's the balance that you get, and that's why you can attract both male and female audiences. The problem is that balance is lost now, and so you get writers nowadays that are just so focused on writing these strong, empowered female characters that the only thing they can come up with is to just nuke the male characters in order to promote them, in order to make the females look better. Or they just don't give a crap about them in the first place. Either way, you're losing one half of your audience that way.
On that point, by the way, getting the balance right. That commenter just now saying, we'll have a girl telling Bond he's a misogynistic dinosaur. Could you imagine a time where that maybe could work? This is kind of a trick question, but I'll wait for you guys to say.
I'm gonna say about 1995.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That's a
film was
wild guess.
I
film
remember.
was called Goldeneye.
Yeah.
And it was cool because if you guys remember, just to refresh chat as well, it was when Judi Dench was first playing M, and the scene, I'd recommend it. I love Goldeneye; it's one of my favorite Bond films. The scene is basically introducing her and establishing she's not a pushover woman who's gonna like be shit. She basically like. I think the first thing they start saying each other is already like they're fighting, and I think she says, "You think I'm like a bean counting accounted person?" Yeah. And then he's like, the thought had occurred to me. Like, just obviously completely aloof because he doesn't give a fuck. And then I think she says, good, because you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. You're a relic of the Cold War.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I think he says, point taken. And she says, if you don't think I have the balls to send a man out to die, your instincts are dead wrong. It's just like, okay.
Well, isn't that great? Because you establish her as a character who's strong and in command of the situation and isn't going to take any shit from him, but you also establish him as not being intimidated by her, because he, like, throughout that scene, he's listening to what she's saying, but he never gives an inch. He never shows any fear or trepidation at what she's saying, and that was perfect. It was a perfectly structured scene between the two of them.
Talking about good dialogue, so I just got the script up. Do you remember how it ends with him saying, she says, like, don't run off on a vendetta. Avenging Alec Trevelyan won't bring him back. And he says, you didn't get him killed. And then she says, neither did you. Don't make it personal, which is a great line already because it means that she cares about his mental state and they've only just properly met. And then he says, never. Like, Bond never makes it personal. So it's just like, oh, good lines, good stuff. Like,
yeah. No Time to Die just made me want to watch old Bond stuff and remind me, like,
maybe that's the good part of it.
This is 25 years ago, quarter of a century ago.
There was a feminist thing going on back then. The whole girls kick ass thing, freaking Lilith Fair and stuff. But I don't know. I mean, Lilith Fair was, but everything else, it was fine. It was fine. And you know, these things cycle through. It's just magnified because of social media now. What's going on? But like Hollywood, I'll leave on this note. Hollywood used to listen to trends. Now Hollywood thinks they create them. They don't. That's where they are the end users. That's where they go to die. They get used up by Hollywood and they go into the ether. Now, Lashana Lynch said it in that article. They are making things they want you to hear. They're using entertainment as a platform now. That's the word you hear. Almost every single actor. Brie Larson used it when she became Captain Marvel. Simu Liu used it when he became Shang-Chi. We hear Alex Kurtzman mention it with Star Trek. These things are now platforms. And that is one of the biggest problems we have, because when you are checking boxes and you are restricting yourself, you're not writing any. That's not a natural piece of art that you're writing. You're just trying to send a message through this thing that we, the fandom, helped build and turn into billion dollar franchises because we loved it, because we actually loved it. And the criticism we always get is we just hate things. No, if something good comes along, I'm happy to tell you. My videos do just as well when it's something I like or don't. I like the Suicide Squad. I've watched it a couple, 3 times already. Thought it was.
I liked it too.
Yeah, good character work. It's got good levity. It doesn't have the most complicated plot in the world, and it's not a perfect film, but it was fun. And that's all I want to have is fun.
It's not that much to ask for, is it?
Yeah, apparently it is right now, but you're right. All right, I got a boogie, guys. But hey, this was fun. Had a really good time. Thank you, chat. You're brilliant. You're beautiful. And catch you guys later, man. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Thank you, man.
Catch you Tuesday, Gary. We'll see you.
Yeah.
Love you, Gary.
To take off on like what Gary was just talking about, I really feel that Hollywood has kind of like lost the zeitgeist, or their interpretation of what the zeitgeist is what's on Twitter. And I think Twitter is a sample of a type of attitude that is not prevalent. It's not mainstream. It's not mainstream, frankly. And so the pandering to Twitter is the critical error that I think that Hollywood has made. They think that, and this even affects politics, where politicians are affected by what is said on social media. And they're missing out on the vast majority of people that don't give a shit about social media, like even don't use it, aren't active on it, right? So
it's the silent majority that people keep talking about. And I think
correct.
It's the nature of social media that the loudest voices are the ones that get the most attention, but the loudest voices are the most extreme voices, and so it gives you that weird skewed opinion of what the general mood of people is. The people who are just moderate, the majority of people don't really say anything, or they don't get heard so much. And yeah, exactly like you say. It gives you this weird, messed up opinion of what the world is actually like. And if Twitter is your window into like the world, it's one fucked up window. Like, no wonder they produce the things they do.
Well, I think what it produces is sometimes hilarious stuff in the comments. I'm usually there for the people commenting on things, like when that trailer for Fauci, the documentary, dropped, and just the comments were brutal. I mean, and I believe that the trailer on YouTube has gotten ratioed to death. So, but you just see, I think that is something to pay attention to, not necessarily the things that are posted, but what the people that are commenting. I think it is probably a better gauge, but even then, it's not, I don't think it represents reality. And they have to be aware of that. Your average, and this is why like sports is such a disappointment now, right? Like, I just want to tune out and I want to watch a good ball game, great ball game yesterday with the Dodgers. They're moving on in the playoffs. They won their wild card game. Not exciting to you guys, but I think that's where you really see that it's the things that used to unite us are now being pulled apart, because the whole lesson from sports and military, for that matter, is that we come from all vastly different backgrounds, right? Vastly different, whatever it is, ethnicities, economic status, whatever, and we're united towards a common goal and a cause. And I don't understand how that simple lesson has been completely lost. So,
well, I mean,
I don't know.
There's nothing that's going to divide people quicker than talking politics, and so,
right.
That is a thing that just inherently people agree or disagree on pretty much everything there. But with entertainment, you can tell a universal kind of story that appeals to universal ideas, like, say, the original Star Wars movies, for the most part. And you could meet anyone from any part of the world, and you could say, oh, Luke Skywalker, he's pretty cool, isn't he? Or Han Solo, that's awesome. And you could have a conversation with that person, and you find common ground with them. But you start bringing politics into your entertainment that used to be universal, and you make it partisan. And suddenly it becomes this thing, it becomes this battleground that, again, people are divided over. And that's the kind of thing that you saw with the new Star Wars movies, or with new Star Trek, or whatever. Like, whatever the franchise is, they bring it, they resurrect it for the present day, and then they inject all of their personal views into it, and it becomes this big thing that divides people then. And it's inevitable.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and I have a real concern about who are the heroes now for young men, young boys that are, going through what, I mean, they're just, being brutalized and attacked and justifiable, and it's been justified, right? So who are the heroes? And I'm talking about both in fiction and life these days, right? So, I am a father to a son. He's grown and gone, and he's his own person, and but like, if you've got young boy now to raise them, when you look at like what's out in the media, where are there? I mean, part of the reason, if you read back to like the, what George Lucas was hoping to accomplish with the original Star Wars was he looked around at what was out there in terms of the film and entertainment industry, and there were no fairy tales or fables for children, right? For kids, right? There was nothing like there was, and first of all, there were great movies. This 1970s was the last great era of American filmmaking. I'd say part of the 80s as well. But and then the message of nearly every movie in the 90s made for Gen X was fuck corporate life. Corporations suck. Don't work in an office. Movies like Fight Club, Office Space. If you look at like those Gen X movies from the 90s, they're all about, don't work for the man.
Yeah, it's rebellion.
Yeah, it's all about rebellion. Now I look like, who are these messages? It's really all the creep from colleges. I think and all these traditional ideas we're being told that that's wrong thing. So I just really feel for young boys these days. It's like, I mean, at least you've got like older media, right? Older television shows, movies and whatnot, but there's not much being made now that, you know, especially post like Endgame. I think Endgame might've been like, something is going on at my place. I don't know what that was. In any case, so I just feel for if you're a parent and you have young boys, what do you expose them to that's being made now, right? Like, you really have to be careful.
I genuinely can't think of anything now that's like if you've got a kid and you want to show them an awesome hero, a heroic male character. Yeah, I'm struggling. I don't know if you can think of anything more.
But like, are we aiming strictly for perfection here, or things that are...
I mean, if you just think of I don't know, just a good, not even necessarily a role model, but just a cool character that like boys or kids could, you know, aspire to, or that might teach them like interesting lessons about life moving forward. Just anything like that, anything that's kind of aspirational. I'm just genuinely struggling to think of anything that's being produced nowadays that adheres to that.
I suppose the difficulty here is like we need to choose from a pool of new characters that have come up recently that are already like just well known and appreciated. And it's like we've got very few of them anyway. For some reason, my mind straight away goes to John Wick. It's like one of the newest sort of characters that people can be like, oh, that's someone we all know. It's got a franchise behind him. He's relatively new guard, you could say.
One person's nailed it.
Johnny Lawrence, Cobra Kai, I love that. Yeah, I just think John Wick. I thought of John Wick too, but I mean, you're talking about if you've got a boy under 10, what do you show that instills some sort of, or at least forget values for a minute, set that aside. How about just optimism? Right? Like that was the thing that I miss most about Star Trek, the original Star Trek series, and Next Generation for that matter. There was a sense of optimism and positivity. And that I feel that's just been completely lost. Right? It's all now just lecturing and we're awful. And so many are just not on board with it that they've just completely tuned out, right?
I think if I was to do a tour of like the older franchises, like say you wanted to show kids like the dashing rogue with a heart of gold who comes good in the end, you would give them like Han Solo from Star Wars. If you wanted to show them the adventurer who goes on great great adventures across the world and gets into fights and risks his life and stuff, you would show them Indiana Jones. You know, if you wanted to show them the thoughtful kind of explorer who tries to be diplomatic and sees things from different perspectives and stuff, you might show them like Star Trek: The Next Generation. You had all these different like role models that exemplified different traits. And I just feel like you don't have any of that now. Like every one of these things has been subverted or kind of deconstructed in its own way, and there's not much left.
The point I was making with John Wick wasn't that he's a role model. It was that he's one of the only people I can even think of, like characters from a newer age. It's like, who have we got?
Yeah.
You know, like actual, and I don't mean like just name a character. I mean like people who almost represent, because like Indiana Jones and I don't know, Han Solo, as the ones you just mentioned, they're very much, they are larger than life. They are like these image. We all, it evokes a strong thought in everyone's heads. We got very few of them in the last like decade. Just new characters.
I agree. That's why, I mean, you look, this new Indiana Jones film is just going to be, I just think already the indications are that it's not going to be great. You know, I first, I just wish they wouldn't make it at this stage, especially with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I'm not a fan. Her, whatever, the droid character, is it L7 or whatever, like whatever. I don't
337, yeah.
Yeah. It was just so horribly cringe when that character was. That was awful. So her involvement just gives me no confidence whatsoever, which is why Bond was such a surprise. I think it's why I liked it more than I thought I would, because it had been drilled into me that I thought that it was going to be awful, and all indications were that it would be, especially the way that the press was interpreting things, right? And they tend to want to throw these narratives in, right? They'll kind of read the tea leaves, right? Like, and then they throw out little, like, you know, they throw out little tidbits to the press, like, you know, there's Bond is not even 007 in this. Like, what? And of course they go after it. But yeah, I really am concerned. And I think it's also concerned, but also an opportunity for other filmmakers out there to, like, hey, I want to tell a story that appeals to young boys, that can teach, you know, how to be a decent man. Is there anything that's even like that there? And not like there needs to be some agenda behind it. They just tell a good story. And it's unfortunate that most of those just exist in the past. It's very telling. So, and I want to say thanks to the chat. Everyone in the chat, hail chat. You guys are awesome.
They do be engaging.
Yeah, they're great.
Shall I throw up a couple more super chats and see what we got here?
Do it.
Projects Done Poorly says Sharp has got to be one of the best TV shows of all time. Chris, you've probably got no idea what I'm talking about here. Not good production, but good characters and great writing. MauLer, did you ever watch Sharp back in the day with Sean Bean?
I've always meant to see it. I never did.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of actors that are still going now that had their start in something like Sharp. Like, there's a very young Daniel Craig in one of the episodes.
Sweet.
You mentioned Red Dwarf earlier. I loved that show.
Yeah.
I used to have all the episodes on VHS back in the day. It was just like, Red Dwarf was just like, talk about just like brilliant writing. So spot on. I just, every time Raime, I love that show.
Yeah. Great fun was Red Dwarf. Jim says, howdy. Thank you, Jim. Howdy to you, sir. Ecanalist says, hail MauLer, Drinker, and Chris Gore. Drinker's looking smooth. Thank you. I've got my tux on today. Zach Zalak says, nice tuxedo for the wake. R.I.P. Jimbo. Yeah. We pay our last respects to James Bond on this stream tonight. Tara Sadowski, I know you did a video a while back, but I would love to see a stream on 1917, especially with Veterans Day next month. Yeah, that was a really good film. I liked 1917. I don't know if I can add much to it at this point by doing a stream on it, but it was definitely a good film. Kilted Cajun says, look at the smooth Scot. Hail Drinker and MauLer. I need some shades to go with my vest and kilt. Well, doesn't everyone, you know? It's just the thing to do. Rustman says, Drinker and MauLer are now more Bond than Bond. Who knew? Yeah, that's it. MauLer, I'm going to assume that you're wearing a tuxedo right now.
Yeah, I burst out of it a little bit, but you know, you can still mostly make it out. Yeah,
gotta do it. It goes well with the gas mask. Charles Hurst gave me a super sticker for $50, so thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Mako Jag says, hi Drinker, you've inspired me to write stories, and I'm using your face with your deep blue eyes. And chiseled jawline as my villain's face. Ah, thanks. I should be the fucking hero. What you doing, man? What you doing? But thank you anyway. Little Drama Show says, thanks for the stream. Wish me luck for my driving test. I could do with the blessings of a drunken Scotsman, a nerd, and a sheep-loving gas mask. Well, you got a driving test coming up, I assume tomorrow. So best of luck to you, man. I hope you pass. I'm going to be honest. I didn't pass mine first time. Yeah, it was a pain in the arse, actually. I got to the end of the driving test and I thought I'd done great. And then the guy was like, "Nah, I'm afraid you failed." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "Yeah, you didn't use the mirrors enough." And I said, "Yeah, I did." And he's like, "Well, I didn't see you." And I was like, "Well, I used my eyes. I didn't move my entire body to like look in the wing mirrors." Jesus. Yeah, that pissed me off. So I was really like, next time I did my driving test, I was really sure to be like, every time.
Got to make sure.
Yeah, pissed me off that. TLJ Screwjob says, I guess it's this in this timeline, it's Louis Sarah Kennedy, and I know the actor is Indian, but genuinely seems he should be playing Carlos or something. Yeah, that's Leon Kennedy that they've got in the Resident Evil trailer. Yeah, that's weird. That doesn't look anything like the original.
No.
Stephen Bogle says, movies like Jason Bourne and Austin Powers, Mission Impossible is the reason why James Bond lost mystique in spy movies. Particularly with Bourne, I think, because they just tried to emulate the Bourne movies, didn't they?
Definitely, yeah. That's what I think everyone's concluded, that like Casino Royale ushered in like Bond is going to be different now because Bond can't survive in the modern era. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And it just, it kind of robs the character of what made him fun to begin with. Kevin Wallen says, what they were going for with Craig Bond, Jack Bauer, and 24. Again, very much in that Jason Bourne mold.
Yeah, there'll be another one.
Alex A says, how'd the Bond casting call go, Drinker? Also, greetings, Longman and Gary. Yeah, I was just waiting for my callback, Taylor Haha says, please watch Epic Rap Battles of History. James Bond versus Austin Powers. It's Daniel Craig Bond and Sean Connery comes in and has something to say. That sounds good, actually. I'll need to look at that. 21 Palika says, after seeing how the movie ended, I think they should have called it Sometime to Fry. There you go. Great Cthulhu says, hail glorious trio of Long. I feel a peculiar sense of catharsis. Bond ruined, Indy 2, woke Targaryens, feminist Conan, orgy Trek. All is dust. I feel a strange relief of letting go. There's kind of something in that. Like if someone was to come to me and say, I've just heard that great news, Kathleen Kennedy's been renewed for another 20 years at Lucasfilm. I would just say, okay, great. I don't have to care about Star Wars for 20 years then.
I mean, and similarly, if they said she was fired today, I'd be like, Star Wars is still doomed. It wasn't just her.
Yeah. Either way. It's a kind of a, I don't know, man. It's kind of a weird feeling, isn't it? When you just kind of divorce yourself from a franchise. You move beyond that point of being pissed off or frustrated with where they're taking it, and then you just realize, I just don't care anymore. just do what you want. I don't mind. I've just moved away from it. I've got something else to, I've got other things I can be interested in.
There are some that I get surprised at myself in terms of just being perpetually pissed off. Like whenever they come after Predator and Terminator, it's like my little kids, leave them alone.
Yeah. Don't touch Predator.
They've ruined it so many times. Just every time, because Jurassic Park is next, right? Dominion, and man, I love Jurassic Park. So it's just like, again, you somehow managed to piss me off, even though it's been dead several times. Because this what they don't know how to create is an enduring franchise. Like they want to be able to create one, but they don't know how anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think. Even something like Jurassic Park, it was never going to be an enduring idea, was it? Because the whole point was the sheer novelty and the spectacle of like, holy shit, like dinosaurs are real now, and like, they look believable. But that's the kind of card that you can only play once. And so when you try and do it again in like Lost World, say, it's like, it's got much less impact now because we've seen it all before. It's not impressive anymore.
Yeah, and they don't have stories to tell. They only have like hey, remember the original, but now here's my gimmick. It's they're in the city, or this time we're going back to the old island from the original film, or as in the case of the third film, Alan Grant is going to go back to Isla Sorna to help save a kid who's lost on the island. It's like, what are we doing? What? The first one had so much to say. All the rest of them are just trying to be the first one. That's it.
And when you got Jurassic World, and it's trying to be all meta by saying the lines about like, oh, we had to produce crossbreed like completely fucked up dinosaurs to try and keep people interested because the original ones just weren't pulling in the crowds anymore. And you've got Chris Pratt going like, they're dinosaurs, that's wow enough, you don't need more wow factor.
It's literally
like,
true.
yeah,
I care so much less about the Indominus Rex than I do about a T-Rex, by the way, which they knew about because the T-Rex is the hero in the films all the time. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, and it's again, it's just fan service, but it's like shining a light on the shortcomings of your own franchise doesn't make it any less obvious. Just because you're meta referencing it in your movie doesn't mean it's not a problem now.
I think I find their lack of faith disturbing, that they think that we don't give a shit about dinosaurs unless they're twice as big and they can go invisible and they can shoot lasers. Like they do the same shit with Alien. They do the same shit with Terminator. They're like, they won't come watch unless there's a big spooky version. It's just like, oh my God.
I just want to say bye to Adrian Curry. Thank you for listening. She said, great listen, and she was saying goodbye to the chat.
Thank you, Adrian.
She's great. I have known Adrian for years. She's what you would call a broad. She's a real woman, right? Like, and she's just awesome. Also a legit nerd who I got to know through, I don't know, going to San Diego Comic-Con. She would come in dressed up. It's better that she tells the story, but she got kicked out for having too provocative of a cosplay outfit, which, that happens. It happens. But it's just depressing seeing like these franchises it's like Hollywood's like vultures just carving off the last bits of meat off of these where it's just they're not sustainable, right? Like and the fact that so many people within the core audience have been turned off. For me, it's Star Wars. I've just totally blackpilled on Star Wars. It just doesn't matter to me. It's just and it make what's even worse about it is that if you were to say, let's say you show your kid the original trilogy, right? Would you want them to see episode 7, right? Like, oh, no. Like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like, there's something to be said for just a character riding off into the sunset, right? Like an old John Wayne film. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And what I just think what they've been doing with Star Wars now is just, I mean, a little glimmers of hope in The Mandalorian. We're just like, oh, okay, that was a fun episode, right? Like, you see that because it was actually set in the time that people kind of care about. So I don't know what your thoughts are, but like for me, there's just nothing in all of these reboots. I do have some hope for Ghostbusters Afterlife, just because I'm told that it's kind of like what JJ tries to do with nostalgia, but it's actually well achieved. I mean, we're gonna know in a few months. So, but what do you guys think about that?
I think for me, like with something like The Mandalorian, given the state of Star Wars now, like mediocrity felt like a step up. And that's
fun.
That's kind of what The Mandalorian was like, and I said this in my reviews. It's like it's not smart and it's not particularly complex. It's just like simple little self-contained stories, the kind of things that any writer worth their salt could reel off in one weekend. But then it's done reasonably well. It's directed tolerably well, and that's enough to just make it fine. Compared to the disastrous movies, I think people were their expectations were so low that something like that just seemed like a masterpiece in comparison.
That's what I think it is. I agree. It's like stuff has been so garbage that like even just a glimmer of hope is like stands out as like, oh, that's great. But then you kind of have to temper like with the distance of time, then you can see it more sober-minded, which I'm surprised to even use that term on your show.
We don't like the S word here.
Yeah. But it's just I feel like what is there? I mean, Eternals just looks awful. The thing that I'm most looking forward to, frankly, is Dune. My big concern is the way that HBO Max has, it's going to be on HBO Max the same day. I mean, I have tickets for, Thursday night, so I'll see it, I guess, maybe a few hours before other people will watch it on HBO Max, which I would not recommend. But what is the metric now for success, right? It's not going to make a lot of money, right? It's a 2.5-hour movie that is dense, that is, but I had a friend of mine who has seen it on the big screen, who is not a Dune fan, not even a science fiction fan, who says it's one of the best films of the year. A buddy of mine named Eric Weber, which he has great takes on Twitter. You should. He doesn't really get into YouTube so much, but he's as angry as any of us. But he told me that yes, I say like a lot. But I think Dune could be really interesting. I know that they've got waiting in the wings the second film. There's a second and third film in the series, and then a potential television series. So we'll see. Do you guys have any thoughts on Dune?
I don't know what MauLer thinks about this. I am fairly hopeful about Dune. I think I've got the same overall take as you in that I don't think it's going to make a huge amount of money. I don't think it's going to appeal to mass audiences. Not that it's highbrow necessarily. It just doesn't feel very accessible for people who haven't read the books and don't really know what the fuss is about. So I think it's got those things counting against it. I think it's probably going to be quite long, quite slow paced. It's a Villeneuve movie, and very much like Blade Runner 2049 was kind of slow paced and probably could have done with some tightening up editing wise. I think it's going to be the same with this. I think it's going to look visually spectacular. I just think you're going to get a lot of long, extravagant landscape shots, and maybe it's going to drag the pace down a little bit, and it's going to be the polar opposite of something like Force Awakens, where it's all just madcap stuff going on all the time and stuff exploding all the time. So I don't have high hopes for it being a financial success, but I think it'll be a good film overall.
Yeah, I'm told that it's the running time is like 2.5 hours, but it doesn't feel like it. It's the fastest paced Denis Villeneuve film that you'll see. So this is what I'm told. We'll see. And I have read the books. So, but also what I'm told is that the script is very accessible. I think that the problem with David Lynch's Dune, he got too bogged down in using all the jargon that is part of the Dune universe. And I think there are ways around the jargon where you can understand what's going on. So we'll see. I'm really curious what both of you think. I'm sure. I'll be watching a lot of your videos when it comes out. Is it out there already? Is it out in Europe already?
I don't think so. But then again, it's been shown in different
I know that Andre from Midnight's Edge, he's seen it in Norway. They had advanced screenings or something, but it's not coming out in the UK until the 21st. So it's simultaneous for America.
Yeah, you're getting it at the same time. All right, that's interesting. Cool.
He's quite a filmmaker. Denis Villeneuve, is that how you say the name?
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah. Never loved any of his films. I've always been fascinated by the cinematography and just I really love his eye and the effort he puts into it. But just never got my gears turning sort of thing, really, watching them. But with Dune, I've heard a lot of things already. I wonder if it'll be a bit too heady for the average moviegoer, and thus could sink below getting the chance it needs. I think it's going to be gorgeous as a movie, probably. I don't judging from the trailer. I'm pretty interested. The cast is absolutely stacked. I look forward to seeing everybody doing their thing, and I'll absolutely give it a chance. But yeah, I'm not much of a Dune fan, so I got nothing right in there. I just it would be nice if we could get something that's a really high budget new sci-fi that gets to challenge some perspectives maybe, or present a world that's nice to escape into. I really do hope for the best, but it's not been a great set of years for media. Cautiously optimistic is the my route for now. We try.
I mean, I never thought I would live in a time where I could no one's going to argue with me if I say this, but Star Trek is dead and Star Wars is dead. Like they're both dead. The two biggest franchises, and both destroyed by the same person.
Oh wait, I lied. I adore Sicario. There you go.
Yeah, okay, there you go. All right, that's fine.
Sorry, I completely forgot he made Sicario. That's my bad, because I really do love that film.
Yeah, well, just I don't know. Star Trek and Star Wars gone away. That's sort of like.
Yeah, man, you're right. Well, loads of Titans have been slain, like in the modern times. There's so many left. With every day that passes, something else gets announced. And I'm like, fuck, I completely forgot they hadn't destroyed that yet. Oh, no.
Well, they've been talking about making a Logan's Run reboot for years. And if they go with what the original book by William F. Nolan is, it'll be freaking weird. I'm a big fan of that movie. It doesn't necessarily hold up from a tech standpoint. It was shot in a shopping mall in Dallas. But Jenny Agutter, she is amazing. They never really explain why those characters, Logan 5 and Jessica 6, have British accents and all the other characters have American accents. It's never explained, or why even a robot from the future has an Austrian accent for that matter. So, but Logan's Run is just like I think it was, if I recall correctly, may have been the first time I saw breasts in a movie at a theater when I was
that was a weird scene, that because it just came out of nowhere, didn't it? It wasn't a sexual scene or anything. They were just like getting changed, like into
they were getting changed because Logan was smooth. He said, "Let's take these clothes off before we freeze," because they had just come out of that water, the flooding, and suddenly winter wonderland. Smooth guy, that Logan. But they've developed a Logan's Run movie for years. I think it was even Bryan Singer, which probably explains why that ended up not happening.
Yeah,
that's a whole other spiral conversation. Unfortunately, I got to go shortly, gentlemen. But God, this has been a blast. I was so surprised you reached out to me.
No, it was great to have you on, man. And like I say, like I saw some of the interviews you did with Film Courage, just talking about the state of modern movie making and stuff. And I thought, like, yeah, that's be a great guy to have on. Like, I think we share a lot of similar opinions about how films are made these days. And yeah, I'm just glad you were able to make the time for this. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it as well. And I watch both of you. Gosh, just watching FNT is like introduced me to so many different people. And it's nice to know that there are like-minded people noticing these things are happening. It's just depressing to see this industry fall apart, and the industry somehow touting successes that aren't really successes. I don't know. There's got to be a breaking point. There has to be a breaking point. Which was the weird comparison I made earlier with the food industry. Where is something to point out what's happening in entertainment? And I appreciate shows like yours. So thank you for having me be a part of it. So
yeah, appreciate it, man.
Awesome.
And we'll
nice to meet you, sir, by the way.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. And I want to say thank you to the chat too. Everyone there in the chat has been awesome. Great. And it was so cool to see Adrian Curry in the chat. She is amazing. So hail chat. And thank you, gentlemen. Hopefully I'll be back soon or just, be with you on another show. Who knows? So
absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. Right. Take care. Chat soon.
Thanks, man.
Later. Bye.
And then there were two.
The best two.
The best two, yeah. The cream has risen to the top, as always. Let's see what we've got next. Midas 96 says, regarding Moonraker, do you remember Dolly having braces when she smiles at Jaws? I do, and it's not there anymore. That scene doesn't even make sense without her braces. Is it the Mandela effect? You know, it's funny you say that. I'm sure she had braces as well. I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember that. Whether or not she did, I mean,
in love with a little petite girl, and I think she has braces and glasses, as I recall. Maybe the chat can help me out on this one. Does she have braces in Moonraker or not? Cast your votes now. Let's see. Yeah, they're saying she did have braces. She did.
Do you know that the actor who played Oddjob is in prison for multiple life sentences now?
What? The wrestler guy?
Yeah, I forget his name.
I know who you mean. Like he was like a Japanese professional wrestler, wasn't he?
Yeah. I'm
actually surprised he's still alive. He must be well into his 80s.
I'm trying to find it. I think it was Oddjob. I remember reading it somewhere, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" I think it happened a while ago, and it's just something people don't know about. Something like he had a bunch of people tied up in a basement or something.
What?
I'll try to find out.
I'm gonna find the truth about this.
The researching chat. One moment.
Okay, so. Yeah, Harold Sakata.
Maybe I'm mixing him up with someone else. I'm almost certain.
Yeah, so he died in 1982.
Oh, you know what? Thank you, chat. It was Random Task I'm thinking about, not Oddjob. Do you know what I'm talking about? From Austin Powers. That's the one. Sorry, my brain got the wires crossed. Yeah, because when you said he'd be dead, like how could he? I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because who's the guy who played Random Task then?
So his name was Joe Sun.
There you go. He's the one who
yeah. I love it. The very first thing they lead with on his wiki bio is like he's a convicted felon and a former mixed martial artist. So he was serving a 7 years to life prison sentence in California due to for torture until the death of his cellmate, for which he was sentenced. All right, so he murdered his cellmate apparently, and he got an extra 27 years.
Bloody hell!
God damn. Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah, I remember being really sad to find it out because I thought he was funny as hell. The joke of Random Task and throws his shoe. Oh no!
I need to.
He's like a crazy man.
What's the next one? Commandant VHS says, "What is James Bond? No Time to Die about? 2 hours and 43 minutes." Yeah, that's exactly. It's a long fucking movie, and it's a bit of a slog.
And as was said earlier, like movies really do feel like they're just getting longer and longer. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah, remember efficient screenplays that could just I've said this before.
Yeah,
like there's a real elegance to making complex things simple, and it used to be that you could do that quite effectively in screenplays, and now they've just abandoned it. And it's like, yeah, let's just take as long as it takes because we've got so much money, it doesn't matter. Joseph Sazlontai says, if you're tired of watching Hollywood implode, I'd recommend the channel Popcorn in Bed, a very sweet woman who only watched chick flicks reacting to seeing iconic cinema and TV for the first time. Thoroughly wholesome. That's kind of like watching Jay, like seeing a film for the first time because he's only seen like half a dozen movies.
I was going to say like 7, maybe 8.
Yeah. Naked Fame says Starship Troopers is one of the best worst movies. Maybe a review with Gary or that werewolf looking fella. Maybe he'd love it. Hail Drinker. I've talked about Starship Troopers already. I've done a review of it.
I do wonder about that, like, because if you keep this going for many years from now, do you think you'll just do another conversation with a different person, sort of thing?
Yeah, it's just like let enough time pass. People have forgotten about it. I'll just talk about it, or maybe I'll forget about it as well. But yeah, it's amazing the number of people that ask me to review movies, and I'm like, yeah, I've already reviewed it. Like, couldn't you see it? Like, you can search back through all my videos, you'll find it. Ashley Rendell says you should watch and review all 6 Sharknado movies. I mean, yeah, that's an EFAP movies in the making right there.
Yeah, I'd say so. Do a shark arc.
Yeah. Cody Griffin, curious. Everyone has a guilty pleasure movie that they love even when they know it isn't good. What are yours, gents? Mine is Aquaman. Sue me.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. Batman and Robin. I fucking love that movie. It's so bad.
I think mine would be Armageddon. I just love how over the top ridiculous it is, but just how serious and earnest it is. And
I haven't seen that in a while, but I think I might agree with you on that one too. I always remember having fun with it. I know it's stupid, but because it's just fun. Michael Bay, he likes explosions.
So many of the Michael Bay movies from that era were just great. The Rock is another great example. Just a great movie. Lots of ridiculous stuff in it, but just a great cast, taking it seriously. It's earnest. It's fun.
I love the scene in The Rock where like a team of people are in, but they get cornered and outclassed by obviously the guys, and then you have Michael Biehn talking directly to Ed Harris as both of them are commanding their teams, and you just have this back and forth where, and then eventually they just keep getting louder and louder, and then someone just hits a stone over.
Yeah, because he whispers to his buddy, "It's like let's waste these fuckers," and then he just nudges a brick over the edge, and that triggers the firefight.
That should be. Have you talked about that one on your channel? We could do that if you want.
The Rock is fantastic. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Because the people you're talking about, they're the mercenaries, right? Because everyone else was sort of like ex-soldiers or soldiers that had been through similar things to Ed Harris and why he was doing it. But then those guys were brought in for money, and so they don't operate the same way.
Yeah, I mean, they were still soldiers, but I think they were just the most ruthless of the bunch.
I could have sworn that they said that he was like, who are these people? And it's like, oh, they come from blah, blah, blah. And then it turns out, it becomes very clear that they're in it for the money, not for the cause, if you will.
Ed Harris makes a statement, something to the effect of this is the first time that I've worked with you and your team, but your reputation precedes you kind of thing.
Oh, right, yeah.
You can kind of draw your own conclusions from that, but it becomes pretty obvious in the course of the movie. They're not interested in Ed Harris's cause. They just want paid. But yeah, Sean Connery just oozes charisma in that movie. It's one of my favorite
performances for him, and it's in. Is that a Michael Bay movie? Who wrote and directed that?
That was the last. So it was a Jerry Bruckheimer film. So
I thought it was Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yeah, it was Don Simpson's last movie as well.
I can't believe Dr. Cox is in that film.
Right. So it was directed by Michael Bay. Yeah.
Do you ever see Scrubs?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dr. Cox.
Dr. Cox's role in that film is he says "sir, yes, sir" a couple times, then he gets set on fire.
Yeah. Yeah, because the rocket hits him or something. I can't remember what happens to his character.
Yeah, loads of great deaths in that film. All kinds of environmental kills.
It's not anthrax, is it? It's VX gas or whatever this stuff is. It's when Nicolas Cage is fighting that last dude at the end, and he puts one of the ampules of it into his mouth and just fucking punches him. Oh man, yeah, we've got to talk about The Rock at some point. Clay Johnson says when the big one hits LA or San Francisco, they should call it the coup de grace. Yeah, it's. Some city like San Francisco. Warp says, let's focus on Rampart people. Crazier Chris says, I'm going to throw some hard times and you guys make it better. Sorry, I'm going through some hard times. Apologies, the spelling's a bit weird here. And you guys make it better. Well, I'm glad we can help you out a little bit, man.
Yeah, man.
And I hope you get some entertainment from this. Provocateur extraordinaire. Here in Florida, masks are optional, like clothing on some beaches. Very zen here, live and let live. Good fucking philosophy on life. I like it. Chris Topher, why are we talking about Vax Spider-Man is coming out? Yeah, exactly. Why are we doing anything when Spider-Man's coming out?
I was going to say, that is a deep EFAP reference. I was surprised it even came up.
There's cross-pollination of audiences.
Yeah, definitely.
CJ Broskin says, objectivity is something I tend to struggle to rationalize. I see it as a tool to improve my craft, but at the same time, I keep getting bogged down by the various views on it. How do you guys cope? I think this is one for you, MauLer, more than me.
The thing, well, it's funny. I was actually going to bring this up about Dune. It's like, if that film ended up being perfectly written in terms of I can't find a single thing that's inconsistent about it, it could still be something that flops because it doesn't resonate with audience or something like that. Because I talk a lot about, we try to be objective, meaning on EFAP that we give you references as an audience that you can verify yourselves, and that we gun for specific things that contradicts. But as many people point out, it's like, just because a film does that doesn't mean that it's going to work. And if I were in a boardroom or board of writers, let's say, we're trying to figure it out, I wouldn't just be thinking about make sure it makes sense. We're also thinking about, like, where's the heart of the movie? What is the thing? What are the things that people are going to remember about this? What kind of message are we going to give about, whatever thing we're covering? And these things are really important and hard to do sometimes. And because, if my story is just as simple as there's a bad guy and you got to stop him, and then good guy does, and it just ends, you just be like, okay. And if no one can point out anything that doesn't make sense about it, just be like, well, that's there has to be like special elements and stuff. Jurassic Park, for example, because we brought it up earlier, there's a lot to talk about with that movie and what it's about. It's not just a bunch of people bump into some dinosaurs and run away, like and so, like, the whole objectivity thing is just like, try your best to use that as a framework and a scaffolding to just get everything right foundationally and everything. But you still need to look to your inspirations and figure out exactly what kind of work you want to do. Because I assume you agree, Drinker, but like, a lot of the best stuff was composed of other best stuff, and that was composed of other best stuff, and you just try and evolve.
And there's an element where I have to, I guess, draw a line and say, like, well, I'm going to take this thing on its own merits, rather than say, okay, well, it's drawn influences from here, there, half a dozen other places, because then I could end up just like never getting to the point of the actual movie. And so, like, I try to kind of separate that out. And yeah, like, definitely when I review things, there's definitely an emotional component to movies for me that goes beyond just like the nuts and bolts of the storytelling, that I try to tap into, because I guess I try to assume that most of us are on a similar page with things that resonate with us. I know we've all had different life experiences and stuff, but like, you show people certain things, like a character like who's generally likable faced with a great adversity that they have to try and overcome, they're probably going to identify with that character. There's certain things that is just probably universal to people. And I guess when I review films, if something really gets to me, if something really resonates with me or gets a real emotional response from me, like I'll try and interrogate that. Like, why did it make me feel that way? Is it just, is it appealing to something that's unique to my life, or is it something much more general that everyone's going to get some enjoyment from? And I do my best to try and explain that and explore it. And I guess that's how I try and work with my reviews. But yeah, the objectivity part of it is an important aspect as well. Just like, does it actually make sense? Does it all hang together? Is there really obvious flaws in this? Like,
Yeah, because we've talked about it before, but just your standard, if your hero is approaching the villain, is he just going to shoot him dead? It's like, is that too boring? It's like, okay, what if the hero loses? It's like, well, people probably won't like that unless there's a wider thing to it. And it's like, what if the villain wins as a point to make about blah, blah, blah. And it's like, because you have to think about how an audience is going to take it, what they're going to think and feel. And that part of storytelling can be really complicated, especially with the whole, like, we got to subvert, we can't be doing the obvious thing. Like, no storyteller wants their story to be caught before it ends, in terms of just everyone figured it all out. But I think that's led us down a way worse path now.
Well, it's this endless quest, isn't it, to try and do the smarter thing and do the unexpected thing. But like, things that are unexpected don't always make sense. And the example that I could give that I've used before on a story that doesn't have the ending you might expect would be something like Rocky, like a classic story where ultimately the antagonist wins. The antagonist wins the fight and Rocky loses.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because the movie has successfully recontextualized what winning means for him. And for him, it just means like he went the distance and he didn't stay down when he got knocked down. And ultimately, he doesn't care whether he wins or loses the fight because he's got the love of the woman that he cares about more than anything. And that subverts what you might expect from a movie like that, but it does it so well that it doesn't matter. You've got your emotionally satisfying ending, even though it's not a traditional ending. And I think that's a great example of how you can do it well. And that was what 40 years ago, more than that, in fact. Now,
yeah.
Sorry, what's the next one here? 200 Watt Studio says, does no one remember thalidomide? Best thing for pregnant women, they said. Then we found out it was bad for babies. Just trust this untested vaccine. Right, okay. That was a bit of a thing in the UK. The Craig Lee Lawrence experience, the name's Drinker, critical. Nah, go away now. Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to pay tribute to Bond. 200 Watt Studio, Drinker. No CIA dude would be that dumb to be in the CIA. Hello, Tom King. Fair dues. Todd the Tolerable. In my opinion, Mission Impossible 4 to 6 have been trouncing these Craig movies since 2011. Also, Dark Fate was so bad, MauLer didn't even dignify it with an unbridled rage video.
It would have gotten one had I been started when that came out. Dark Fate. That did. I was thinking of Genesis. Genesis, by the way, I almost made a video for that. I was almost going to be my first movie one. But yeah, Dark Fate, that fucking film. I'm going to make a video on it eventually, one day. I just don't know how I'm going to approach it. I really hate it.
I mean, yeah, you could just spend hours on the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, you could.
Just you talk about destroying the legacy of a franchise, and that's the thing. Example.
That's a great example of what we were just talking about. Does it make sense that a T800, or I forget the model, if they had shown up without Sarah realizing it and just shot John while they were walking around, it's like, is that possible? It's like, I guess so. Will audiences love to see that? It's like, obviously not. Why in the world would you expect any audience to enjoy seeing that?
Yeah. It's like you get to the end of Jurassic Park, and as we were talking about earlier, everyone's flying away from the island in their chopper, and the chopper suddenly has a mechanical fault and crashes into the ocean, and they all die at the start of the next movie. That's the kind of level that you're at there, where it's just dying in the most anticlimactic way possible. All just to set up this entirely new premise, this new John Connor. And it's just, I don't know, man. You could almost use Dark Fate as just the perfect sort of microcosm of what modern entertainment is. Taking these carefully crafted franchises and characters and stories from previous generations of writers and just butchering them in the worst way possible to try and put your thing on top of it. And it's the cheapest way of doing things. It's like, my guy's better than your guy because your guy's dead now. And so everyone has to love my guy because I created it and it's awesome. And it's the most simple way of looking at characters. People don't love characters just because you've made them look superficially better than someone who came before.
It's frustrating.
But yeah, I agree on the point as well. The Mission Impossible movies are way better at Bond than Bond is. Yeah. Under Daniel Craig, they're actually fun.
Well, that's the thing. I would be downright excited to see what they do next with the Mission Impossible. I thought Fallout was fantastic.
Yeah. Warp here says the recipe they should have followed was The Man from U.N.C.L.E. In my opinion, one of the most underrated films in recent memory. Not gonna lie, I'm not gonna dispute that. It was a really good, fun movie. I like Man from U.N.C.L.E. Just let me refresh this. Where are you? Oh, yeah, here it is. Brett Cohen says, Drinker, any movement on the new international tasting segment? Have you watched Bad Boys Bobby yet? No, not yet, because it was only like 2 days ago that you asked me about that. So, yeah, I haven't had a chance yet, I'm afraid, man. Kane Crow says, not to be a jerk, but shouldn't there have been some nudity in Bond? Realistically speaking, she's barely in her dress, standing and talking, but in the fight, she doesn't fall out of it. Good point.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to allow that to happen, though. We're not going to be allowed to see that. I mean, take what you can get from modern Bond, I guess.
Yeah. She was in a t-shirt at one point. I think I saw her boobs through it. I don't know. Fucking hell. It's bottom of the barrel time, gentlemen. Brett Cohen says, maybe a good follow-up from New Zealand would be Jackson's Meet the Feebles. Yeah, clearly I've got a lot to watch. OMG Poppy says, what do you think of Utopia, the original British one? Yeah, I liked it, actually. I liked Arby as an antagonist. I thought he was really good, really sinister, but really got a tragic backstory as well. So, yeah, Utopia was like really quirky, really weird and different, but ultimately pretty good show. I don't know did you ever watch it, MauLer?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, it was quite good, actually. I liked Utopia. It got remade in America. I've never seen that, though. The Craig Lee Lawrence experience says, would you sacrifice Daniel Craig's Bond career if the clocks could turn back and somehow give us more George Lazenby and Timothy Dalton Bond films? I would never want to see George Lazenby do it again because he was a plank of wood, but I could do with more Timothy Dalton. If you keep him young, I think he was a pretty good take on Bond. Bit serious, but yeah, way better than Craig. Mr. Smith says, sorry, off topic, but I just heard this news. What do you think of the new Hellraiser having Pinhead as a woman? Jamie Clayton just cut the role. Fucking hell.
It's hilarious to me. Women can be Cenobite, passion, pleasure, pain, demons too. You're like, yeah.
This is going to have such a different context if you have a woman Cenobite, like in the big leather get up.
Well, they've done it before. It's just that not as Pinhead. That's all. I don't know. Have you seen the Hellraiser movies or?
Yeah, so like in the last one, they all kind of get killed, don't they? And they get like reverted to their original human forms, and one of them is a woman.
Well, yeah. You see her in I think near the end of the first. I can't remember anymore because they do show up a lot of them in the first one. I think is she the one that has like a big ring around her and her throat has been opened up? I think that's the girl one.
Yes, because the other one that's always chattering its teeth, isn't there? Like its mouth has been flayed open or something. So yeah, she's the one that's got the throat that's been cut apart.
Well, thank goodness we're finally getting.
I'm all about Cenobite representation. Honestly, like Cenobite lives matter.
The funny thing is, right, with a remix, I think this happened with Hellraiser, that it's not who's the guy who plays Pinhead usually?
Oh, he's a British actor, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
So he is played by
Doug Bradley.
Yeah.
And then you had
a few different people that have played him, actually.
Well, so this is what my point was going to be. Doug Bradley is Pinhead, and then the concern we would have had is a different cast. We would have been like, oh no one's ever going to be able to play him as well as Doug Bradley can. But now it's like, you'll be lucky to get a male. Like that's where we're at, I guess.
Yeah, so it's Jamie Clayton who's now playing it. Yeah, so she's been in Sense8 and Designated Survivor. Yeah, okay, fine. I mean, she looks nice in her picture there.
Well, someone in chat said Pinhead was a woman in the book. I've never read it, but that's interesting if that's true.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Like I said, it was a book actually.
Go nuts! I don't think they're ever going to be able to make a Hellraiser like the original, but at the same time, this just comes across as funny. That's all.
Yeah. 21 Palika says Dusan Popov was a Serbian double agent who served in MI6 during World War II and was one of Fleming's primary inspirations for the character of James Bond. I will take your word for that then. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
J Fraser 360 says, "Hail gents, cinema's sound cut off halfway in the film. Couldn't be arsed sailing the high seas and just read the wiki page. Instead, I recommend the awesome George Lazenby documentary Becoming Bond. What is the best Bond actor, film, and action sequence? Oof. Damn, you know what I really love in GoldenEye? I love the fight between Bond and Alex. In the they're in like a satellite array or something like that, and it's not like a well choreographed fight scene, and it's not like got all stupid judo moves like you got in so many of the Bond movies. It's a really like rough brawl that's done as one continuous take. And it just, I think it plays out really well. I really like that fight sequence that they have.
I mean, I need to rewatch that movie. So I've always really liked it. I'm trying to think of like best Bond action sequences.
I love the breakout scene on board the tanker in The Spy Who Loved Me, because it's huge. Like, it's a big epic gunfight that goes across this entire set. I just think, that's pretty cool, just for the scale of it. Not a huge fan of Lazenby as Bond, but I'd be interested to see that documentary. It's just like, I've always wondered why he never did another one, like why he only did one movie.
I guess there's probably gonna be answers for that in like wikis and stuff. Your favorite Bond is Connery, is it? Or
yeah, pretty much. Brosnan would be a close second for me.
Are those, unless I'm wrong, are those the most common picks, I think, from like fans in general? Is Connery and Brosnan before? Because I think Roger Moore would be next up usually, right? Yeah,
I think the general consensus is like Connery, then either Brosnan or Timothy Dalton, because I think he's got a bit of a following, and then you're down to the Roger Moore, and then probably Craig, and then Lazenby. I
don't think many people think of Craig as the best Bond, but I'm sure there's plenty out there, you know.
Well, yeah, like there'll be people that have never seen another Bond movie, and just of course it's Craig. That's the only one I know of. I'm just looking at chat here. So Connery and then Dalton, Connery, Moore, or Dalton, Brosnan. Yeah, they're all up there. But there's not many people who dispute Connery as being kind of the top of the list. Claudia Rogajan says, just curious, what's your least favorite Bond movie? Mine is either A View to a Kill or Die Another Day. A View to a Kill is basically Austin Powers. That was Roger Moore's last one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Die Another Day was Brosnan's last one, which it's a little embarrassing at points. I don't know if you remember all of the biggest cringe in that movie. But there's some stuff in Die Another Day that's fun as well.
I think so. I think A View to a Kill is probably worse for me because, well, it's got Christopher Walken in it, which is awesome. But Roger Moore, I think, was 58 when he did that one, and he really looked at like he was really like old and creaky, and just shouldn't have done that movie. And he just kind of looks embarrassed to be there. So, damn, that's probably the worst of the bunch.
I don't know. I only recently saw Spectre for the first time, and man, that film is fucking terrible. I don't know how it ranks for me in terms of Bonds, because I remember the older era Bonds have a charm that usually passed them through my brain in terms of the insanity. Do you remember like when Jaws bit a shark? Stuff like that.
Yeah. Fuck you, shark.
That kind of stuff. I'm having loads of fun, but not only was Spectre boring, but I was just like annoyed again at watching another Bond who's just like just the kind of stuff where it's just like I'll kill you, Bond. And he's like, okay, it's fine. And I thought that Christoph Waltz was wasted. And obviously Blofeld was wasted. We, to come back to the beginning of the stream, that's one of the first things we said.
Yeah. And I think as well, Quantum of Solace. It's one of those movies I assume it was really bad because I couldn't fucking tell you a single thing about it.
I was about to say, I've seen it. I can't remember what the plot is.
Yeah, no one can. That's the thing. It's like some weird distortion field around that movie. Like you see it and you experience it, and then you forget about it the moment it's over.
I'll tell you what, weird. It's the same stuff that Thor 2 is made of, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. You're just like, it challenges you to remember it.
Yeah. Oh man, it's a weird one, definitely. Wormy Spoon says, "Evening, fellas. Excited for Lord of the Tangerines." Yeah, we all are.
Mm-hmm.
TCAP says, "Have you guys, specifically MauLer, seen the Black Widow deleted scene where Natasha gets arrested by Ross at the end just to escape straight after?" I believe we've covered this. It contradicts the director's comments big time.
I don't think it did, Matt. I think it was the director genuinely had no idea that was already filmed. It's just like, wait, what? Oh, we did an ending. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just love the idea of like these directors that are brought in for like diversity hires, and like they think they've directed one movie and then what they end up seeing on the screen is like completely different.
dude, imagine being unable to passionately talk about all the decisions you made for your movie. Instead, you have to go like, that's my movie.
Yep. It's just that I guess that's what happens when you join the assembly line. You know, you're not so much making a piece of artistic endeavor as just you're putting a few components into the assembly line and just seeing what gets spat out the other end. You know, I think that's the most you're allowed to do. And it's a hell of a way to make movies. It really is. And that's kind of what we're lumbered with now. Louis the Plank says, "Hail Gary, MauLer, and Chris. Drinker, I just purchased a physical copy of your first book on Amazon. For a while, all I could find was digital copies. Well, I'm glad that they finally got some available for you because it was getting quite difficult to buy in the States. So I think they fixed that. Aurelia Souza gave me a super sticker for $1. Thank you. Christopher, Gary, I'm your estranged 40-year-old son and I need money." Well, Gary's gone, so you can't get any money off him, I'm afraid. Chris Raposo, "Lord of the Rings is our Iliad and Odyssey. Game of Thrones will be long forgotten before Lord of the Rings. That is how special it is, and HBO, Amazon don't see that or care." I think they just see it as an opportunity to make money. It's a brand that they can exploit. I've struggled to give a shit about this Lord of the Rings show. I just don't see how it can turn out good. Ranky says, "You guys ready for when the MCU brings in Blade? I would bet they go with the vampires have been controlling society from the shadows forever kind of scenario. Probably. I'm not enthusiastic about an MCU Blade. I think he's going to be toned down and like Disney-fied.
I imagine people are familiar with our feelings on the incoming MCU movies. Just we've said before, but just like people who are going to go, you know what? We got Galactus, we got Doom, we got the Fantastic Four. Like you excited? It's like, no, not from you guys. It's just going to be. We need some wins in the MCU to be excited again. As far as I'm concerned, it died with Loki. I think was the Endgame it did some damage, but Loki's fucking killed it now.
Yeah. I mean, have you got any hope for Spider-Man?
Not much. After that first trailer came out, I was like, so Doctor Strange and Spider-Man are both going to be idiots in order to make everything happen. It's like, thanks.
Yeah.
Because if I said to you and we had the power to do it, it's like, oh, let's change memories all over the world to protect the identity of superheroes. Like, yeah, that sounds great. Do you know what that means? Like, do you know how much damage you're doing to people when you do that? And I don't even know if Doctor Strange cares. They portray him in that trailer as being someone who's excited to cast a spell because it's powerful and unyieldy, and it's just like, oh, that's not his thing.
There's all the theories going around that it's not actually Doctor Strange. It's like Mephisto or someone like that, and
that could help.
Masquerading as him. It's like, okay, fine, but
I don't know. In my experience, whenever we see something bad and we just hope they'll fix it later with something else, it usually just gets worse.
Yeah, it could well be, and yeah, it's just the whole concept is so dumb. Like Peter, keeping chiming in, like, oh, but my Aunt Meg needs to know, and my friend needs to know about this, and oh, MJ, I should probably leave her out of this spell, and immediately you're just thinking, yeah, you can just cast the spell and then go tell them later. That's all you need to do.
Well, I might disagree with you on that one because, to be fair, how many years has it been since he's told Ned? Because it was Homecoming that Ned found out, right? It was. Yeah, so he loses all of the experiences he's had with him from then until now, which is, so for example, if someone said, I'm going to erase Drinker having met me, And it's like, well, you can just walk up to Drinker and say hello again. It's like, yeah, but everything that I've said to you, you won't remember anymore. Met me as it's not exactly the same because of course you knew Ned for a while. It's just and maybe you consider it a worthy sacrifice and be like, yeah, you're getting your identity secret again.
I think if it comes to like, making you anonymous again and keeping the people that you care about safe, it's probably worth doing. But then I don't know the nature of the spell. Like, does it erase every memory from the point at which you found out that he was Spider-Man, or does it just take away that context? So it's like, oh, I still remember doing loads of things with you. I just don't remember anything relating to you being Spider-Man. In which case, yeah, okay, I can live with that. That's not bad.
Well, like I said, man, I'm still really uncomfortable with not having a discussion about how unethical it is to fuck with the entire planet's minds.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we saw what happened when Wanda did it with one town of people. Like, that's across the entire world then. So yeah, it's definitely a thing.
And then as someone in chat said, and this is a commonly asked question, how exactly is it going to work with hard evidence? Like,
like emails or blog posts or whatever. Yeah. It's like, would you just look at them and be like, I don't understand that. Brandon Casinelli says, a fundamental recipe for meeting our heroes and being disappointed with the result. Star Wars sequel. Yeah, more or less. Don't believe in anyone because they're all frauds, apparently. I'll probably just do a couple more because I don't think I'm going to get through all of these tonight. So I think what I'll probably just need to do is like a catch-up stream at some point, but I'll do a couple more. Shape Snatch says, Drinker, would you ever do a Drinker Recommends for Game of Thrones season 1 to 4? Currently reading the books and would like to hear your thoughts. I don't know, man, because it's like I feel like now my whole opinion of Game of Thrones has been tarnished by like seasons, well, probably 7 and 8 at least.
Two big fans of Game of Thrones friends of mine tried to rewatch it, and they stopped like halfway through season 1. Both of them did it separate occasions because all they can think about is where it all leads.
Yeah.
And I feel like your video, if you were to make one, you'd constantly be wanting to throw in caveats. You'd be like, yes, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, how do you divorce it from where it's going? Because everything is all tied together and it has to lead to a resolution. And if the resolution's terrible, it's going to come back to what you're setting up there. And I don't know, like I might be watching it and just thinking, oh my God, I had such high hopes for the show when I was watching this. Like it all seems so smart and so well put together. And, look where it ended up. So I don't know, man. I feel like with Game of Thrones, I wouldn't want to go back to it right now. Warp says, well, like Thanos realized, the key is that if no one remembers what was, they will not resist what is movies-wise. Just gradually erasing everything that came before. Master Clockwork says, Lewis Lowry's The Giver is our future. Therio, God of Rage, says, I love that Gary brought up Attack of the Show. G4 and AOTS was my go-to getting through high school. I love what you guys do. Happy belated birthday to MauLer. We're the same age. Keep on keeping on. Rage on.
Thank you very much. Will do. And happy birthday.
Yeah. And last for tonight, Zuzu says, I vote Critical Drinker for the next Bond, and I vote Critical Drinker to write the screenplay and choose the director. Hail Drinker, hail Friday Night Dice. Yeah, I'm just going to direct it and write it and star in it all myself. I'll just make it a one-man Bond movie. It's just going to be me drinking martinis in a bar. Perfect film. Can't criticize the logic of it. But yeah, like I was saying there, I think because there's quite a lot of super chats, it's unlikely I'll be able to get through them tonight, even if I keep plugging on for the next 2 hours. And I don't want to keep you from your business, MauLer, because I know you've got long stuff to do. But yeah, thanks to you, man, for coming on tonight for this. It's been great to have you on again.
It's always a pleasure, sir.
Yeah, we must do it on a more regular basis. We'll talk more about that later. But yeah, for all you guys in chat, thank you for joining us for this. Thank you for all these great super chats. And yeah, any ones that I've missed, I will absolutely catch up on them But yeah, for the time being, we're going to go away now. So thank you very much.